Chapter 560. Damn it! The manager was so angry that his eyes turned red. He gritted his teeth. He had been careless and had been hit by this brat. Although he was not seriously injured, he had lost a lot of face. Brat, you have angered me. The manager's face was cold. His aura was vast and mighty, and the entire world was filled with endless cold wind and rain. Even if your body is strong, you are only in the early stage of the blood movement realm. How dare you be so presumptuous in front of me? I will show you what a grotto heaven is and what true power is. The manager's body shook, and a bright light burst out from his chest. Boom! A loud sound was heard. Within the brilliance, a brilliant hole suddenly appeared. It was like a volcano that contained endless lava and was about to erupt. It was also like a passage to an unknown and mysterious world. When the green-robed manager opened the hole in his chest, a vast and boundless power surged out like a raging tide. Boom! Under this monstrous power, Old Man High's house collapsed with a loud bang. It had been crushed by this enormous pressure. This is a grotto heaven? It is indeed tyrannical. Xiao Hao was shocked when he saw this power. The grotto heaven realm absorbed the essence of heaven and earth, the essence of the sun and moon, and nurtured one's own supernatural powers. This realm was different from the blood movement realm, where one had a strong body. Instead, one had truly possessed supernatural powers and supernatural powers. Young master, leave quickly. Old Man Hai rushed over and blocked Xiao Hao. He reached out and tried to push Xiao Hao away. However, he realized that he could not move Xiao Hao at all. Young master, you, Old Man Hai was shocked. He could not move Xiao Hao? Young master's strength was so strong? Leave? None of you can leave. All of you will die. The manager opened up his grotto heaven and absorbed the essence of heaven and earth. His body shone brightly like a god descending to the mortal world. Grandpa Hai, I am not afraid of him. Xiao Hao nodded at Old Man Hai and stepped forward. His face was resolute, and the blood in his body surged like a raging tide. The path of a supreme being is invincible. The grand ancestral master gave me a solid foundation, but I still need to train. Xiao Hao took a deep breath and said, Supremes are all killed. Then I'll use your head to witness my path to becoming a sovereign. Xiao Hao resolutely took a step forward, bravely and resolutely facing the green-robed manager, who was overflowing with power. Brave and fearless. Invincible hero. Heroic, unparalleled in the world. Old Man Hai was amazed by his spirit. Young master, you have such spirit at such a young age. You will definitely be a hero in the future. Hero? Even so, he had to be alive to be a hero. If you're dead, you're just dog shit. The cyan-robed manager sneered. The spike in his hand trembled and a cold water light shot up into the sky. It was like an endless rain, whistling as it rushed towards Xiao Hao. Torrential storm. The densely packed light spots were like dense raindrops. The wind howled and the rain poured down. The dense dots of light transformed into sharp arrows that rained down like rain. The specks of light pierced through the air, emitting a series of sharp whistles. It tore through the sky and pierced through the earth, covering the sky and covering the earth. According to legends, the ancestor of the Rain Clan was the Rain God. The secret technique of the Rain Clan used the rain as the source and the rain as the form. It possessed unfathomable divine power. This is the secret technique of the Rain Clan? Facing the rain of arrows that covered the sky, Xiao Hao's expression did not change. However, he did not underestimate it in his heart. Godly Taotia's power. He put his hands together and then suddenly opened them. As he opened and closed them, a huge black hole appeared between Xiao Hao's hands. An endless devouring force was produced from the black hole. Devour the heavens and earth. A huge devouring force was produced and engulfed the heavens and earth. It was as if a huge whirlpool had appeared. The rain droplets that filled the sky were all sucked into the black hole. Godly Taotia's treasured technique? The cyan-robed manager cried out in surprise. The innate treasured technique of a pure-blooded true spirit was extraordinary. Even in the Rain clan, other than the Rain God's secret technique, they did not have any other techniques that were comparable to a pure-blooded true spirit's treasured technique. The cyan-robed manager was only a member of the Rain clan's side branch. He had only learned some superficial techniques of the Rain God's secret technique. At this moment, when he saw the godly Taotia's treasured technique in Xiaohao's hands, he was pleasantly surprised. Good. Good. I never thought that there would be such a harvest. The heavens are helping me. The cyan-robed manager stared at Xiaohao. His eyes were shining and his heart was burning. As long as I obtain this godly Taotia's treasured technique, I will be able to rise up and become a tyrant. I won't have to look at other people's faces anymore. That's great. You want my treasured technique? Then we'll have to see if you have the ability. Xiaohao sneered and rushed out. Like an arrow leaving the bow, he fiercely collided with the cyan-robed manager. A vast and mighty golden radiance surged, making Xiaohao's rushing figure look like a golden dragon. His divine might was awe-inspiring and his aura overflowed the heavens. If your realm is not enough, it's useless no matter how strong your treasured technique is. The cyan-robed manager laughed nastily. The sharp spike in his hand vibrated crazily like a sinister poisonous snake that was crazily twisting. Rain snake. The sharp spike whistled through the air and exploded with a loud sound. A huge snake shadow stirred up the wind and rain. It opened its huge mouth filled with fangs and fiercely bit at Xiaohao. The huge snake shadow covered the heavens and the earth. Its vast power was boundless. My cultivation level is still too weak. The godly Taotia's treasured technique can no longer devour this attack. Is this the true power of the Grotto Heaven realm? Sensing this huge power, Xiaohao already knew that he could no longer use the godly Taotia's treasured technique to devour it. Then I can only take it head-on. Let me test the power of the divine physique. Xiaohao's blood and qi were vast and mighty. Like a vast ocean, the golden radiance soared into the sky. Unprecedented, unparalleled divine physique. Boom! The huge snake shadow fiercely smashed down, exploding with a loud sound. The divine radiance scattered and the huge impact fiercely slammed into Xiaohao's body. Pooh! Fresh blood spurted out and a series of bone-shattering sounds came from his young body. Even if Xiaohao had obtained a profound inheritance, his cultivation time was still too short. He still did not have enough strength to display the true power of the inheritance. With one attack, Xiaohao's body was bathed in blood and his bones were broken. Ha 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 ha! After one attack, the cyan-robed manager laughed wildly. Little brat, your strength is still far from enough. You're dead. Young master, old man Hai exclaimed and was about to rush out to save Xiaohao when he suddenly saw Xiaohao, who was bathed in blood, standing upright without any change in his expression. Golden radiance soared into the sky, and the wounds on his body were rapidly healing. In a moment, Xiaohao had completely recovered. There were no wounds on his body. This scene shocked the cyan-robed manager. This is the invincible Vajra body? No. Xiaohao shook his head. This is unprecedented, unparalleled divine physique. Divine physique. The cyan-robed manager curled his lip. So what if your recovery ability is strong? I want to see if you can regrow your head after chopping it off. I'm just using you to train myself. Now the training is over. So go to hell. Xiaohao shouted and formed a series of hand seals with both hands. 6 hand seals were formed, and the 6 paths of reincarnation appeared. Time passed, and all living things were reincarnated. An extremely mysterious power swept out. For a moment there was silence. It was as if all living things in the world were frightened by this power. They were as silent as cicadas in winter and trembling. 6 paths of reincarnation, heaven and earth returned to silence. With one attack, all living things were reincarnated. The cyan-robed manager's body stiffened when he was hit by this power. It was as if his soul had left his body and entered an endless cycle of reincarnation. Go to hell. His palm was like a knife, and the golden radiance of the palm pierced through the air. A head flew off and blood spurted out. TSK. Too strong. Old Man High was stunned. Moving the blood and slashing the grotto heaven. Young Master is defying the heavens. To have such achievements at the age of 3, his future is unimaginable. Chapter 561. Xiaohao killed a grotto heaven realm cultivator? Liu saw this through the system connection and nodded in satisfaction. Xiaohao has finally started. I can open up some of the system's functions to him. Liu's new system was a little different from the previous ones. It was a sect master system. Since he was going to equip Emperor Huang with a team, he might as well let Xiaohao establish his own force and control it. He would use the name Supreme Palace to establish a sect and dominate the 8 barren lands. Then, he would fight his way from the lower world to the upper world with a group of powerful subordinates and dominate the world. With Xiaohao's current strength, he still has a long way to go to establish his own force. Therefore, the only place suitable for Xiaohao to farm is Stone Village. With a flick of Liu's finger, a message was sent to the Supreme Hall system in Xiaohao's mind, giving him a mission. Train in the Great Wilderness? After killing the cyan-robed steward, Xiaohao used the Taotai treasured technique to devour his strength and refined it with the human immortal martial arts, causing his sacred body of the ancients to grow tremendously. At this moment, Xiaohao's strength had exceeded 50,000 pounds. His young body contained a vast amount of qi and blood. At this moment, new information appeared on the huge crystal tablet in the Supreme Palace in his mind. This is the sect's training mission? The pure-blooded true spirits train their young and order them to travel 100,000 miles alone in the great wilderness. They will fight and experience all kinds of dangers along the way. As for me, as the successor of the Supreme Palace, my mission is to travel 300,000 miles alone. Xiaohao took a deep breath and his face was full of determination. The great wilderness is full of dangers. Traveling 300,000 miles alone in the great wilderness is a severe test, but I will not back down. He faced challenges head-on. Xiaohao stepped out of the manor without hesitation and stepped into the vast and dangerous Great Wasteland. That's Chongyan City. After leaving the manor and traveling 1,000 miles alone, Xiaohao saw Chongyan City, an important town in the western border of the Stone Kingdom. The Rain Clan has a stronghold in Chongyan City. My current strength is not enough to wipe out this stronghold. I'll pay you a visit in the future. After taking a deep look in the direction of rushing Cloud City, Xiaohao turned around and rushed into the boundless great wilderness. Leaving rushing Cloud City meant leaving Stone Country's territory. There was only a desolate mountain range in front of him. Ferocious beasts roared and birds of prey whistled, containing endless danger. "De Huang, I'm coming." Xiaohao tightly clenched his fists. His blood and qi surged as he rushed into the unknown and dangerous wasteland. Hiss! A poisonous flood dragon burst out of the mountain stream, its foot-long poisonous fangs gleaming with a cold light. Poison flood dragon? Xiaohao recalled that he had been bitten by the venomous flood dragon, and even his leg had been crippled. A wave of anger rose in his heart. He frowned, and a golden light burst out from his body as he heavily punched out. Boom! Blood splashed in all directions. Pieces of flesh and bones exploded all over the ground. With a punch, the venomous Jiao dragon was directly blasted apart by this huge force. The venomous flood dragon is still the venomous flood dragon, but I am no longer the helpless child from before. Along the way, he fought and killed. In the dangerous wasteland, almost every step forward was a severe test. Time passed day by day, and the dangers he faced increased. There was almost no time for him to rest. Xiaohao's entire body was bathed in blood. His clothes were already tattered, and a thick layer of blood had accumulated on his fair skin. The smell of blood was so thick that it was nauseating. Dragon-horned elephant? Xiaohao had just gotten rid of a pack of direwolves. After stepping into the wilderness, he crashed into the territory of the dragon-horned elephant. The huge dragon-horned elephant was about 10 feet tall. There were 2 coral-shaped dragon horns on its head, and its body was like a small hill. When Xiaohao stepped into the territory of the dragon-horned elephant, the leader of the dragon-horned elephant, that huge male elephant that was like a small hill, crashed towards Xiaohao with a rumbling sound. The heavy elephant legs stomped on the ground, causing the ground to shake violently. The huge figure ruthlessly crashed over, as if a hill was crashing towards him. "I was just about to test my strength on you." Xiaohao's eyes flashed. His entire body was covered in golden light, and his figure was like a dragon. He met the huge elephant's crushing figure and ruthlessly crashed towards it. Rumble! The young figure and the huge elephant collided violently, and there was an earth-shattering sound. Roar! The huge elephant let out a wail. Its huge figure was actually sent flying by Xiaohao, and it crashed onto the ground with a rumbling sound. Roar! Roar! The elephant herd was shocked by this power, and they cried out loudly and scattered in all directions. Ha 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 ha! Xiaohao stepped on the huge elephant that had fallen to the ground and laughed loudly. After fighting and killing along the way and going through untold hardships, he had finally trained his strength to 50,000 pounds, which had reached the standard of a pure-blooded true spirit infant. However, this is still not enough. The standard given by the Supreme Palace was that the blood movement realm had to train one's body to 360,000 pounds of strength. This dragon-horned elephant has enough qi and blood. It's just right to strengthen my body. Using the Taotai treasured technique, the power of devouring heaven and earth devoured the huge dragon-horned elephant, leaving only a pile of ashes. Human immortal martial path, refine. A huge amount of qi and blood poured into his body. Xiaohao waved his fists and legs, and with the human immortal martial path body tempering technique, he refined the huge amount of qi and blood that had been absorbed into his body. I can already open my acupoints? After absorbing and refining the dragon-horned elephant's qi and blood, Xiaohao could already faintly feel the pulsing acupoints in his body. To truly open my acupoints, I still need a huge amount of qi and blood. Therefore, I have to find a primordial remnant. A primordial remnant was a creature with a pure-blooded true spirit bloodline. Although the bloodline of these creatures was not pure enough, they still had extremely powerful strength. Primordial remnant were not everywhere. However, there were many chances of encountering a primordial remnant after traveling 300,000 miles in the vast wilderness. His footsteps did not stop and the killing continued. Rumble! A mountain in front of him exploded, and gravel flew everywhere, and dust flew everywhere. Roar! A huge, ferocious ape that was hundreds of feet tall and covered in yellow fur beat its chest and roared at the sky. A giant mountain ape. And it's an adult giant mountain ape. Xiaohao shrunk his neck and hurriedly retracted his aura, hiding behind a huge rock. The giant mountain ape was a primordial remnant. However, an adult giant mountain ape was extremely powerful. With one slap, it could even shatter a mountain. It was not something that Xiaohao could afford to offend with his current strength. Is the giant mountain ape fighting with something? Xiaohao poked half of his head out from behind the rock and looked into the distance. Screech! A bird's cry sounded, and a huge black shadow descended like a cloud. A huge bird descended from the sky and pounced on the giant mountain ape. The ferocious bird let out a long cry, and a crystal light shot out from its beak like a meteor shower. Boom! The entire hill was flattened. It's too powerful. Xiao Hao had traveled the vast wilderness alone and experienced countless dangers. However, he had not seen many existences that could move mountains and fill seas, and destroy heaven and earth. This is equivalent to the Stone Kingdom's nobles. What made them fight to the death? What exactly happened in the vast wilderness? Chapter 562. Kaboom! The giant mountain ape and the ferocious bird fought until the mountains collapsed and the earth cracked. Mountains crumbled one after another, and the earth cracked open. Within the range of their battle, it was as if the heavens and earth were about to collapse. Too ferocious! Xiao Hao had retreated 3 times in a row, and was already far away from the battlefield. The ferocious birds and ferocious beasts seemed to be fighting for their lives. Amidst the roars, feathers flew, and blood splattered everywhere. This battle lasted for 3 days and 3 nights. In the end, there was a violent explosion. The ferocious beasts and birds let out shrill cries and fell to the ground. They actually perished together? Xiao Hao looked up and saw that the giant mountain ape had twisted the bird's neck, and the bird had pierced the giant mountain ape's heart with its claws. Both of them fell to the ground and died. What are they fighting for? Why are they fighting so fiercely? Xiao Hao leaped up and rushed to the battlefield. He found that the giant mountain ape and the bird had both died. 2 archaic remains that were equivalent to the noble plane of the human race had died together just like that. The flesh and blood of archaic remains is a great tonic. I can't waste it. Xiao Hao waved his hand and put the 2 ferocious beasts into the Supreme Hall. When he was killing the bandits who had invaded the manor, Xiao Hao had already discovered that the Supreme Hall, in his mind, had a huge storage space. It could be used as a treasure like the Qiankuan bag. I didn't find any divine items or sacred medicines nearby. What made these 2 ferocious beasts fight? And why did they fight to the death and kill each other? Xiao Hao looked around the battlefield but didn't find anything special. He was confused about the fight between the ferocious birds and ferocious beasts. They can't be fighting to the death for no reason. What's going on? Xiao Hao frowned in confusion. Kaboom! Suddenly, an earth-shattering explosion shook the world. In the depths of the vast wilderness, a monstrous flame shot up into the sky and burned through the firmament. Huge mountains were turned into scorching magma by the raging flames. Even the earth was being melted by the flames. Amidst the raging flames that engulfed the heavens and earth, a red bird spread its feathers and soared into the sky. Its divine might was monstrous, causing one's heart to tremble. Buzz! A huge golden claw smashed through the clouds and smashed towards the bird in the flames. The red bird swayed and avoided the claw. The large golden claw struck empty air, smashing an enormous mountain ridge into pieces. The mountains collapsed and the earth cracked, the sky collapsed and the earth caved in. It was incomparably terrifying. This is the vermilion bird? Xiao Hao looked at the earth-shattering battle in the distance and was shocked. What is that golden claw? The vermilion bird was a true pure-blooded true spirit, and an adult one at that. His strength was incomparably tyrannical, and his strength was beyond imagination. Compared to the battle between the giant mountain ape and the ferocious bird, the current battle was even more terrifying and shocking. Even such existences are fighting. I'm afraid something big has happened in the great wilderness. Xiao Hao's expression was very serious. I definitely can't go where the vermilion bird is fighting. A battle between such peerless experts would definitely cause the nearby ferocious birds and beasts to scramble to escape. There would definitely be a beast tide. Xiao Hao traveled the great wilderness to train himself, not to court death. If he ran into a beast tide, there was no other way but to turn and run. Otherwise, he would be drowned by the beast tide. Let's increase my strength first. The mission to train the great wilderness had not been completed. The road ahead would be very dangerous. Only by increasing his strength would he be able to continue. Xiaohao found a hill and jumped up. He waved his hand and released the huge giant mountain ape. I'm about to open my meridians and achieve minor success in the human immortal martial path. This giant mountain ape is a primordial remnant. Its strength is equivalent to a human noble. I can use it to break through my cultivation. Runes shone brightly and the shadow of a Taotai appeared above Xiaohao's head. It opened its mouth like a black hole and swallowed the giant mountain ape. Boom! Monstrous qi and blood flowed like the Milky Way. It was as if a river had burst its banks. The boundless power poured into Xiaohao's body, causing him to tremble. It's too powerful! Xiaohao's heart tightened. He quickly used the human immortal martial path and poured the raging qi and blood into his meridians. Crack! The sound of glass breaking was heard. Under the impact of the boundless qi and blood, Xiaohao's meridians were opened one by one. Buzz! Dazzling golden divine splendor radiated outwards. Within this divine splendor, stars began to shine one after another. 1 star, 2 stars, 1296 meridians were opened at the same time. One meridian connected to all meridians. In an instant, all 129,600 meridians lit up like a brilliant galaxy. One meridian connected to all meridians. Qi and blood run through my entire body. With a loud roar, the giant mountain ape swallowed all of its energy into its body. The mighty qi and blood ran through his meridians like a raging river. Boom! A golden light shot into the sky from the top of Xiaohao's head. The golden light was like a pillar of light that reached the sky. The giant mountain ape turned into a pile of ashes. All of its energy had been refined by Xiaohao. All of his meridians had been opened. His qi and blood were like rainbows. Good, good, good. Feeling the huge changes in his body, Xiaohao was overjoyed. The mysterious phenomenon in the sky disappeared, and Xiaohao leaped down the hill. Then, he threw a punch at a huge cliff in front of him. Boom! Golden light flashed, and a monstrous divine power burst out. With a punch, the cliff exploded, turning into pieces of rubble that scattered everywhere. Small success, Saint Body. I have reached the limit of the blood movement realm. The standard given by the Supreme Palace was to have 360,000 pounds of strength in the blood movement realm. Xiaohao had opened all of his meridians, and his saint body had reached small success. He had reached this goal. After 2 years of training in the wasteland, I have finally reached perfection. After reaching the blood movement realm, his body was several times stronger than a pure-blooded true spirit infant. He had reached his goal of being invincible in the blood movement realm. At this point, Xiaohao's mission to train in the wasteland had been completed. The only thing missing was a little bit of the journey. There's still some distance left. Let's finish it. Traveling 300,000 miles alone to train in the wasteland. Now that he had traveled over 200,000 kilometers, he just had to continue walking down the remaining path. Stepping out of the broken cliff, Xiaohao casually chose a direction and walked forward. Roar! At this time, Xiaohao suddenly heard a huge beast roar in the distance. Xiaohao quickly turned his head and looked in the direction of the roar. There are actually people going deep into the wasteland at this time? In the direction of the beast roar, Xiaohao saw a huge flying flood dragon. The blue flood dragon was 200 feet long. Its body was covered in blue scales that shone brightly. The flood dragon had a pair of huge wings on its back that were shaped like bat wings. With a flap of its wings, the flood dragon whistled through the air. A middle-aged man and 3 children sat on the back of the flood dragon. All of them were dressed gorgeously and had an extraordinary aura. If they want to go deep into the wasteland, then let them be. I don't care. Xiaohao no longer paid attention to the people on the flood dragon and continued walking. Kid, stop right there. Xiaohao had just started walking when he heard an arrogant shout, which made Xiaohao frown. Kid, there was a strange phenomenon here just now. There was a golden rainbow that reached the sky. There must be a treasure that appeared. Hurry up and hand it over, and this old man will spare your life. The middle-aged man on the flood dragon stood with his hands behind his back. He stared at Xiao Hao with an arrogant and cold face. It was as if he was a high and mighty figure that controlled the life and death of millions of people. Chapter 563. Golden Rainbow, the Birth of a Rare Treasure? Xiao Hao was slightly stunned, but he immediately understood. These people probably saw the strange phenomenon when he broke through his cultivation and thought that some strange treasure had appeared. Thinking of this, Xiao Hao laughed and shook his head speechlessly. You dare to resist? Seeing Xiao Hao shaking his head, the middle-aged man flew into a rage. This place is only 1,000 miles away from Luofu Swamp. Which clan are you from? How dare you defy the decree of the Luofu royal family? Do you want to be exterminated? The flying dragon flew through the air and arrived in front of Xiao Hao in an instant. The middle-aged man stared at Xiao Hao fiercely and was about to explode. Then, ow ow! The flying dragon floating above Xiao Hao's head suddenly screamed in horror and fell to the ground with a crash. Ouch! The middle-aged man and the 3 children exclaimed and jumped off the back of the flying dragon in a sorry state. Damn it, how dare you hurt the beast of the Luofu clan! The middle-aged man thought that Xiao Hao had attacked the flying dragon and was about to explode, but he found that the flying dragon did not seem to be injured, but it was scared. Woo woo! The flying dragon crawled on the ground and buried its head deeply. Its whole body was trembling and it kept whining. The middle-aged man was stunned. He was shocked. The flying dragon was a ferocious beast unique to Luofu Swamp. It even dared to fight the Hui dragon and was very fierce. But now it was scared? And it was so scared that it was trembling all over? This child is just an ordinary pauper. His clothes are ragged and his whole body is filthy. The middle-aged man suddenly smelled a strong smell of blood. It was as if he had gone through endless battles, continuous battles, and the thick smell of blood had accumulated. The middle-aged man looked at Xiao Hao in horror. This child of 5 or 6 years old was ragged and his whole body was covered in thick black filth. The smell of blood came from the filth. How many battles did he go through to accumulate such a strong smell of blood? The Luofu Swamp was deep in the wilderness, far away from the hinterland of the human race. Naturally, there were many battles. As an important member of the Luofu clan, this middle-aged man naturally did not lack battle experience. However, the bloody aura he sensed from the 5 or 6-year-old child made him sense the aura of countless ferocious beasts. There were wild beasts, ferocious birds of the great wilderness, and even the blood of archaic descendants. Oh my God! Where did this kid come from? The middle-aged man's heart skipped a beat as he suddenly recalled a legend from the great wilderness. According to the legends, the pure-blooded true spirit children, the descendants of the emperor of the Great Desolation ancient kingdom, these peerless geniuses would be sent out by their families to gain experience in the Great Desolation ancient kingdom. 100,000 miles of bloody road, tempering and killing, and becoming invincible. This legend is actually true? Was there really someone who could travel 100,000 miles in the great wilderness alone when they were young? This is too terrifying. The middle-aged man was deeply aware of the dangers and terrors of the great wilderness. Even now, he didn't dare to say that he could safely traverse the entire 100,000 miles of the great wilderness. But this 5 or 6-year-old child was actually able to travel through the great desolate lands alone and open the trial of blood. What kind of terrifying and peerless talent was this? If he knew that Xiao Hao had already walked 300,000 miles, he would probably be scared to death on the spot. Young master, we have offended you just now. Please forgive us. An existence that traveled 100,000 miles alone to gain experience in the great wilderness wasn't someone that a small Luofu marsh could afford to offend. The middle-aged man hurriedly admitted defeat and lowered his head. Even if this child hadn't truly grown up, but what about the faction behind him? How could such a magnificent feat of gaining experience in the great wilderness not have a guardian? Normally, they wouldn't interfere, but once there was a life-threatening danger, the existence behind him would definitely take action. Forget it. This middle-aged man's attitude changed greatly from arrogance to deference. Xiaohao curled his lips and didn't bother to pay attention to him. He waved his hand and turned to leave. Young master, 4 pure-blooded true spirits have fought in the depths of the great wilderness for 2 years. I'm afraid that a treasure mountain will appear in the great wilderness. We and the surrounding noble clans. Speaking of noble clans, the middle-aged man's face flushed red. The title of noble clans was something they gave themselves. It was fine if they usually called themselves nobles in the great wilderness. At this moment, they also called themselves nobles in front of this youth with an extraordinary background. This was a joke. Fortunately, Xiaohao's face didn't show any abnormality. This made the middle-aged man heave a sigh of relief and praise in his heart. As expected of a noble background, open-minded as a valley, an extraordinary bearing. Young master, the nearby clans are about to gather in the great wilderness. We don't have extravagant hopes for the treasure mountain. It's mainly to let the juniors of our clans interact with each other. The middle-aged man said and pointed at the 3 children beside him. The juniors of our clans are about to head to the great wilderness for an exchange. Young master has an extraordinary background and probably hasn't seen the local conditions and customs of the great wilderness. Why don't you go and take a look together? This works too. Xiaohao thought for a moment. Gaining experience was also to increase one's knowledge and experience the great wilderness at the same time. However, Xiaohao didn't have a good impression of this middle-aged man and just let him lead the way. Great. The middle-aged man laughed joyfully. To be able to form a relationship with someone with an extraordinary background like Xiaohao, he would definitely benefit greatly. It's just that. The middle-aged man looked at the still shivering flying dragon and felt helpless. Young master, your aura is too strong. The flying dragon is terrified. I'm afraid, oh? Xiaohao looked at the thick blood stains on his body and shook his head with a smile. I'll go wash up first. Not far away there was a large river, and the sound of raging tides could be faintly heard. Xiaohao's figure flashed and rushed towards the direction of the large river, dashing off into the distance like a wisp of smoke. Young master is swift and decisive, a man of temperament. That's... The middle-aged man suddenly recalled the terror of that large river and instantly turned pale with fright. That's the lunar river. It's bone-chilling and can freeze all things. Young master, you must not go. The middle-aged man's face changed greatly. He hurriedly rode the flying dragon and shouted as he hurriedly chased after Xiaohao. The flying dragon swept through the sky and rushed out with extreme speed, chasing after Xiaohao all the way. When the flying dragon passed over a large mountain, a large river that was 10 miles wide with pitch-black water and endless ice appeared before them. Young master, don't... He. Standing on the back of the flying dragon, the middle-aged man was shocked to find that Xiaohao was swimming happily in the lunar river that was said to freeze all things and extinguish all life. Ha! It's so comfortable. Xiaohao plunged into the lunar river and did not care about the bone-chilling cold. Instead, he was very carefree. The bone-chilling cold seemed to be able to freeze one's soul. However, the strong physique of the sacred body of the ancients allowed Xiaohao to swim in the lunar river without any hindrance. This is too scary, isn't it? The middle-aged man was dumbfounded. Bathing in the lunar river was a legend of the human race in the great wilderness. Now, someone had actually made this legend a reality? Please subscribe. Since writing, the author had never stopped writing for a day. He would sit by the computer and write on holidays. It was really hard work. Sitting in front of the computer every day, even the tips of his fingers hurt from typing on the keyboard. I hope to receive everyone's support. For every chapter you read, the author will take 1 or 2 cents. Even if you've been reading pirated copies, you can support the author with the money from buying a bottle of water or a pack of cigarettes, right? Please. Chapter 564. So comfortable. After washing off all the filth and evaporating all the water vapor, Xiao Hao put on new clothes and felt relaxed. What's wrong? After changing, Xiao Hao walked to the front of the flying flood dragon. He found that everyone on the flying flood dragon was staring at him in shock. Did I do something wrong? Xiao Hao glanced at himself and didn't find anything out of the ordinary. He was puzzled by their expressions. Little Lord, this is the lunar river, the great wilderness that freezes all things and extinguishes all life. You can actually bathe in it? The middle-aged man came back to his senses and smiled bitterly. Little Lord is really too strong. Lunar river? Xiao Hao turned to look at the cold and dark river water and nodded. No wonder it felt a little cold. A little cold. The middle-aged man's mouth twitched as he shook his head speechlessly. An existence that could travel 50,000 miles alone and bathe in the lunar river was already beyond the imagination of ordinary people. Little Lord, we are going to Little Lonely Mountain in the great wilderness. The group boarded the flying flood dragon and flew through the air at an extremely fast speed. This area could be considered a gathering place of the human race. There were many huge cities scattered around the area that belonged to the various marquises. The middle-aged man introduced them to Xiao Hao. They were from the Luofu water swamp. That area was under the rule of the Luofu Marquis. Other than that, there were also Marquis Zishan, Marquis Thunder, Marquis Golden Wolf, and Yuntian Palace. There's actually such a vast territory of the human race in the great wilderness? Xiao Hao heard Jiao Cheng's introduction and felt a little emotional. The great wilderness with a radius of 50,000 miles is also a vast territory. The flying flood dragon flew through the air for 3 days, crossing thousands of miles of the great wilderness, and finally arrived at Little Lonely Mountain. The so-called Little Lonely Mountain was just a small town at the edge of a mountain range. This is Little Lonely Mountain. The flying flood dragon landed in the town. Xiao Hao and the Luofu people jumped off and walked into the town. The town wasn't big and only had a few thousand people. Beside the town was a stone mountain that was about 10,000 feet tall. This was a smooth, rocky mountain with no vegetation on it. What was surprising was that this stone mountain was faintly shining with multicolored light, revealing a lively spirituality. This mountain was actually a guardian spirit? Is that how Lonely Mountain got its name? Other than the middle-aged man, there were also 3 children. At this moment, a child who was about 12 years old raised his head and looked at the stone mountain outside the town. A glint flashed in his eyes. Third Uncle, Stone Mountain's guardian spirit is definitely nurturing a bizarre true blood. Kill this guardian spirit and seize its true blood. Let us bathe in its true blood and nourish our bodies. The young Luofu sneered as he spoke casually. It was as if killing a guardian spirit and plundering its true blood was a common occurrence in their eyes. Once Luofu's words came out, the faces of countless people in Little Lonely Mountain Town changed. After killing the guardian spirit, the small town no longer had a tyrannical power to protect it. In this dangerous wasteland, it was simply impossible to survive. Killing a guardian spirit was no different from destroying this town. As expected, it's an undisguised law of the jungle. Xiao Hao did not have a good impression of the Luofu tribe to begin with. When he heard the young Luofu's words, he was even more displeased. Jiaopeng, shut up! The middle-aged man, Jiao Qing, saw Xiao Hao's displeased expression and his heart skipped a beat. He hurriedly yelled at the youth. After being yelled at by the middle-aged man, the young Luofu curled his lips and no longer spoke. However, his eyes still flashed with a trace of ruthlessness. These people are not good people. I can't associate with them. Xiao Hao's mind spun a few thoughts. He turned around and nodded at Luo Fu and the others. My training is not complete yet, but I can't delay it. So, Xiao Hao will take his leave. Hey, young master, you just arrived at Little Lonely Mountain. Why are you in such a hurry? At least let us entertain you a bit. The middle-aged man naturally did not want Xiao Hao to leave. If he could form a relationship with Xiao Hao, it would be of great benefit to the Luo Fu tribe. No need. Xiao Hao was already disgusted by these people's actions. People who walked different paths could not make plans together. Xiao Hao did not want to have anything to do with them. Waving his hand, Xiao Hao turned around and walked out of Little Lonely Mountain. He leapt into the desolate mountains. This is? Just as he walked out of Little Lonely Mountain town and entered the desolate mountains, Xiao Hao's mind suddenly trembled. A dot of light rushed out of the Supreme Hall, and a map appeared in Xiao Hao's mind. That's the destination? The destination of the training mission in the vast wilderness? Xiao Hao looked in surprise at the village marked with a huge willow tree on the map. He was a little surprised. The destination of the training mission is actually a small mountain village? Is this village very special? Fortunately, according to the map, the small mountain village was only 100 miles away from Little Lonely Mountain town. With Xiao Hao's speed, he could reach such a short distance very quickly. The Grand Supreme Patriarch's arrangement must have a deeper meaning. Xiao Hao nodded and flew toward the destination. They traversed mountains and rivers all the way. Not long after, Xiao Hao arrived at the small mountain village. This place is actually so mystical. Standing outside the village, Xiao Hao looked at the simple and unadorned mountain village in front of him. His heart was filled with shock. An emerald-green willow tree towered in the middle of the village, drooping down thousands of branches. This willow tree did not display any mystical aspect. It looked very ordinary. But Xiao Hao could feel an enormous power from this willow tree that was as vast as the ocean and as deep as the starry sky. People came and went in the village. A group of little kids chased and fought, laughing and playing. But the 3 birds that were chasing and playing with them were as green as jade, as if they were carved out of jade. Those should be the young of the azure sky pung, right? A few old men sat on stone benches, smoking their pipes and smiling as they basked in the sun. But the pipes in their hands should be made from the corals on the heads of the dragon-horned elephants, right? A few village women seemed to be preparing to cook. They casually lifted a huge cauldron that was 3 meters tall, and it was filled with water. The huge cauldron was filled with water, and it was at least a few thousand pounds. In the hands of these village women, it was like a melon ladle? No wonder the Grand Supreme Patriarch told me to come here. This place is indeed not ordinary. Xiao Hao was secretly shocked. He walked to the entrance of the village, planning to greet the people inside. Someone came? At this time, among the children that were playing around, a fair-skinned child about Xiao Hao's age grabbed a young azure sky pung, dragging it over. Go go go! The young azure sky pung flapped its wings, crying out loudly. It struggled with all its might, but it couldn't break free at all. What great strength! Seeing this child drag the young azure sky pung over, Xiao Hao was shocked. Even greater than a pure-blooded true spirit youth. This is still a 4 or 5-year-old child. Wouldn't Great One be even more formidable? Who are you? Did you come out alone? It is extremely dangerous outside. Why did you come to our stone village alone? The child who dragged the young azure sky pung tilted his head and looked at Xiao Hao, asking with a smile. I am called Xiao Hao. I came out to gain experience. Xiao Hao smiled and nodded, replying, Xiao Hao? Your name also has a Hao character? The child let go of the azure sky pung, and his round eyes looked at Xiao Hao. I am called Shi Hao. Welcome to Stone Village. Shi Hao. Xiao Hao's entire body trembled, and he took a deep breath. Turns out this is that little big brother I've never met before? Turns out this is Stone Clan's #1 ancestral land? At this moment, Xiao Hao and Shi Hao officially met. Chapter 565. Child, you're from the Stone Clan? You're from Stone Country? Xiao Hao followed Little Stone into Stone Village, and came before the old chief. The old chief looked at the 5-year-old child in front of him and was shocked. You walked from Stone Country to here alone? 300,000 miles of desolate land, you traveled alone. The old chief opened his mouth wide and couldn't close it for a long time. Traveling 300,000 miles of desolate land alone, wasn't that too terrifying? A 5-year-old, no, it would take at least a few years to travel 300,000 miles of desolate land. Was this child 2 or 3 years old when he set off? Following the orders of the Grand Ancestor, Xiao Hao traveled 300,000 miles alone to train in the desolate land. After stepping into Stone Village, the training mission is considered completed. Xiao Hao bowed to the old chief. Grand Ancestor? Could it be the Grand Empyrean? Hearing the name Grand Empyrean, the old chief was shocked and suddenly realized, so you're a disciple of the Empyrean? You're indeed extraordinary. Good child. Good child. Xiao Hao came from the Stone Clan and Stone Country, which made him a family member of Stone Village. Seeing Xiao Hao accomplish such a feat, the old chief was both surprised and happy. Bring him to see me. At this time, a green light rippled out and Willow Deity's voice sounded in their ears. Willow Deity wants to see you? The old chief was surprised and hurriedly brought Xiao Hao out of the room to the green willow tree in the village. Greetings, Willow Deity. The old chief brought Xiao Hao to greet Willow Deity. No need to be so polite. The willow branches swayed and the sky was filled with multicolored light. An indistinct figure appeared in the multicolored light. The figure was blurry and couldn't be seen clearly. You're a disciple of the Grand Empyrean? The figure in the multicolored light nodded to Xiao Hao and asked softly. Disciple Xiao Hao is the current successor of the Supreme Palace. Xiao Hao bowed to Willow Deity and answered. Supreme Palace? Willow Deity looked at Xiao Hao in shock. The Grand Empyrean is actually related to the Supreme Palace? Grand Ancestor is the founder of the Supreme Palace. When Xiao Hao saw Li Yu's portrait in the Ancestral Hall, he firmly believed that Li Yu was the founder of the Supreme Hall who had been created by him. I see. Willow Deity nodded thoughtfully. So the Supreme Hall was actually created by the Grand Empyrean. With such a history, it's no wonder that the Supreme Hall can suppress an entire generation by itself. Since you came from the Supreme Palace, I also know the reason why Grand Empyrean ordered you to come to Stone Village. Speaking up to here, Willow Deity turned to look at the old chief. Back then, when I descended to Stone Village, I brought down a bone book. This bone book belongs to the Supreme Hall. Give it to him. That bone book. The old patriarch recalled the night of the thunderstorm. A towering willow tree stood tall in the sky. Tens of thousands of lightning bolts fell from the sky like a sea of thunder. In the end, a scorched black withered tree took root in Stone Village. A bone book also fell at the same time and was collected by the old chief. And that's the first part of the true primordial record. It originally belonged to the Supreme Hall, so returning it to him is the perfect way to return it to its rightful owner. Willow Deity looked at Xiao Hao again. Within the hazy figure, 2 eyes blossomed with brilliant divine splendor, as if it wanted to see through Xiao Hao's entire body. 6 paths of reincarnation, heavenly technique, human immortal martial path, Taotai treasured technique. To have such cultivation at such a young age, as expected of a disciple of the Supreme Hall. From now on, you can cultivate in Stone Village. Willow Deity nodded. Its figure turned into light and disappeared, leaving behind some willow catkins floating in the air. Child, from now on, you are a member of our Stone Village. The old chief pulled Xiao Hao to the center of the village. From today onwards, our Stone Village has a new member. He is Xiao Hao. Oh. A group of brats clapped their hands and shouted, "Good kid, not bad." The adults of Stone Village nodded in praise. The simple welcoming ceremony was thus completed. From now on, Xiaohao officially became a member of Stone Village. At this time, Xiaohao's mind fiercely shook. The Supreme Hall erupted with brilliant radiance. Experience the great wilderness, travel 100,000 li alone. Mission complete. Rays of 5-colored light burst out of the crystal tablet in the Supreme Hall. Immortal light fell like rain, filling the sky like firework. Human immortal acupoint, Saint Physique, physical strength reaching 360,000 gene. Breaking through the limit of the blood movement realm, becoming an invincible sovereign in the blood movement realm. Another wave of multicolored light rushed up, filling the sky with immortal light like fireworks, falling down like flowers from the sky. Complete the mission. Reward. Baxia Treasured Technique, Supreme Hall's Artifact Refining Pavilion is open. The sky full of light receded, and a ball of light fell into Xiaohao's soul. Dragon Sun Baxia's True Spirit Treasured Technique entered Xiaohao's mind. Baxia Treasured Technique, Earth's Power. Xiaohao saw the newly obtained Baxia Treasured Technique, and was immediately overjoyed. Dragon Sun Baxia only had one innate ability, Earth's Power. However, this Earth force was simply too terrifying. The power of the Earth was capable of overturning the Earth and collapsing the sky. It was capable of using pure, absolute power to crush everything. Xiaohao had a saint physique, so his power was incomparable. This Baxia Treasured Technique was perfect for Xiaohao. In addition, the Artifact Refining Pavilion in the Supreme Hall was open, so Xiaohao could use all kinds of materials to make weapons and equipment. Kids, Xiaohao joined our village today. Tonight, let's make a good meal for Xiaohao to celebrate. The old clan leader raised his wooden staff and ordered loudly. Okay. Everyone cheered loudly. Unfortunately, that old Baian isn't dead yet. Although it's not a pureblood, it's still a primordial remnant. Otherwise, we would be able to eat the precious flesh of a primordial remnant today. The old clan leader patted Xiaohao's head and said regretfully, "Primordial remnant?" Xiaohao suddenly remembered that he still had a primordial remnant. Back then, the giant mountain ape and a beast perished together. Xiaohao swallowed the giant mountain ape to open his martial Dao acupoints. However, that bird of prey, which was also a primordial species, was still kept in the Supreme Palace. Grandpa clan leader, I have a primordial remnant here for everyone to eat. Xiaohao grinned at the old clan leader and found an empty space. He waved his hand and released a huge primordial remnant. Hiss! The old clan leader sucked in a breath of cold air and was dumbfounded. Wow! What a huge bird! A group of brats surrounded the huge primordial remnant and clapped their hands. Eat it! Eat it! The young Huangtian Emperor's eyes shone and saliva flowed out. Good fellow, this is too fierce. The adults in the village were shocked and impressed when they saw Xiaohao release such a huge primordial remnant. Even though the primordial remnant was already dead, the ferocious aura that came from the primordial remnant was still shocking. This should be a fire crow. The primordial remnant fire crow is said to have the bloodline of the three-legged golden crow. Good fellow, you've given us a big gift the moment you arrived. The old clan leader patted Xiaohao's head and praised, "Good child, you're indeed a hero." Primordial remnant? Eat it, eat it. As expected, the young Huangtian Emperor was a brat and a glutton. Chapter 566. This big meal made everyone in Stone Village feel like their bodies were on fire. This was really making them feel like they were on fire. The archaic descendant fire crow's flesh contained endless fire elemental energy. After eating the fire crow meat and drinking the fire crow blood soup, a huge amount of energy and fire energy gathered in their bodies, causing everyone's energy and blood to surge. Streaks of flames rose from the top of their heads, reaching a height of 3 meters. Ayo, the little brats howled and hurriedly waved their fists and feet, using the human immortal martial path to refine the energy gathered in their bodies. Even if they were adults, they would not be able to withstand it. They could only stop and refine this energy. However, there was one, no, there were two. Delicious. Delicious. Heaven Emperor Huang grabbed a fire crow's wing tip that was even taller than his body and swallowed it in large mouthfuls. As he ate, he shouted at Xiaohao, "Quickly eat! Quickly eat! Eat them all!" As expected of a natural-born sovereign. As expected, powerful. Seeing Heaven Emperor Huang's performance, Xiaohao smiled and nodded. Okay, let's continue eating. The divine body needed to grow and also needed a huge amount of energy and blood. With Xiaohao's current physique, it would be difficult to eat until he was full. The fire crow meat was roasted until it was golden yellow. Sparkling flames lingered in the meat like red flaming gems. The fragrance filled the air, causing one's appetite to increase. This dinner lasted for 4 hours. Everyone in Stone Village ate for a while, finished refining, and then ate for a while. Only Xiaohao and Heaven Emperor Huang, the two little fellows, ate from beginning to end, even drinking the soup. Only then did they pat their stomachs and stand up. Xiaohao, good brother. Heaven Emperor Huang burped and patted Xiaohao's shoulder. You treated me to fire crow, next time I'll treat you to swan and I. Yes, there's still a swan and I in the mountains. We'll catch it and eat it another day. Shi Dezhuang and the stone monkey brought a group of children over and patted Xiaohao's shoulder, laughing loudly. Little brats, you don't know the immensity of heaven and earth. The old chief picked up a stick and hit each of them, chasing the group of little brats away. With your little strength, even if that swan and I is about to die, it's still not something you can provoke. After eating the fire crow feast, everyone in Stone Village had a great harvest. Using the human immortal martial arts to refine the precious blood and flesh of the fire crows, their strength had increased by leaps and bounds. Even the Azure Sky Peng family of 4 benefited greatly. Xiaohao, come with me. After greeting Xiaohao, the old patriarch brought Xiaohao to the courtyard. This is the bone book that Willow Deity spoke of. Take it. The old patriarch handed over a square piece of bone that looked like white jade. There were countless lines engraved on it. Thank you, Grandfather Patriarch. Since it belonged to the Supreme Hall, Xiaohao didn't hold back and put the bone fragment away. Taking a look at the bone fragment, Xiaohao discovered that there were countless drawings carved on it. They were all scenes of various pure-blooded true souls and gods battling. Is this the true primordial record? It is indeed mysterious. Xiaohao glanced over and felt countless runes swirling before his eyes, causing his divine soul to tremble, and he felt a little dizzy. Looks like I still need to slowly comprehend it. Shaking his head and dispelling the dizziness, Xiaohao stored the true primordial record into the Supreme Palace. Is this the true primordial record? Storing the bone book in the Supreme Palace was the same as it falling into Li Yu's hands. I came to the ancient chaos era mainly to analyze the laws of heaven and earth. I still need to study the true primordial record. Li Yu took out the true primordial record with a wave of his hand and began to read this treasure book of runes. So this is what the so-called true primordial record is? This bone book was only a part of the first part of the true primordial record. However, this was indeed the most important and fundamental part. This part was also called the War God Catalogue. It depicted countless scenes of battles between pure-blooded true souls and gods. So the true primordial record is an in-depth analysis of runes. With Li Yu's cultivation, he could naturally see through the essence of this bone book. The bone book depicted countless battles between pure-blooded true souls and gods, but there were no specific treasured arts or abilities. In essence, this bone book described the principles of basic runes. Through the scenes of battles between pure-blooded true souls and gods, it deciphered the principles of basic runes. The true primordial record is truly extraordinary. Li Yu nodded his head in praise. This kind of rune principle represented the most basic laws of heaven and earth. This was a great harvest. The first part of the true primordial record is called God Guide. It consists of the War God Catalog and the Myriad Spirit Diagram. The War God Catalog is the principle of runes, while the Myriad Spirit Diagram is an example of how to use it. Liu smiled as he threw the War God Catalog back to Xiaohao's Supreme Hall. For me, the principle is enough. There's no need for an example. At Liu's current level, once he understood the principle, he could come up with countless ways to use it. There was no need to look at an example of how to use it. A part of the middle part of the true primordial record, Transcendence, is also in Stone Village. I also need to take this part of the Immortal Ascension method for reference. He took out a white square bone box. Liu waved his hand and threw this bone box into Xiaohao's Supreme Hall. Xiaohao, take this bone box and go to Stone Village to find its other half. This is also an item of my Supreme Hall. You go take it back. Liu used the system's sound transmission to pass this information to Xiaohao. Ancestors' sound transmission? Xiaohao was currently playing with a group of brats in Stone Village when he suddenly received Liu's sound transmission. His heart jumped. Stone Village actually still has an item of the Supreme Hall? As expected, the ancestor didn't have a reason for having me come here. Waving his hand, Xiaohao took out a 1.5 foot long white bone box from the Supreme Hall. The ancestor wants me to use this to find the other half? Just where is the other half of the bone box? Before he even finished speaking, Xiaohao suddenly saw the bone box in his hand violently shake. An intense trembling sound rang out. The bone box in Xiaohao's hand flew out, whistling as it flew towards a huge black cauldron placed in Stone Village. Gotcha! The pitch-black cauldron suddenly exploded. The black outer shell collapsed bit by bit, revealing a huge cauldron that looked like it was carved from white jade. The huge white cauldron flew into the air, releasing a sparkling light. What was shocking was that there was actually a gap at the bottom of the huge white cauldron. Ka! The white bone box whistled as it flew under the huge cauldron, firmly embedding itself into the bottom of the huge white cauldron, perfectly blocking the gap at the top of the huge cauldron. Dang, the sound of the heavens was vast and mighty, resonating through the clouds. A beautiful immortal light rushed up, the multicolored light boundless, thousands of strands of auspicious energy, endless strange phenomena appeared in the air, as if the immortal realm had descended to the mortal realm, and the divine earth had appeared. The dark green willow tree in the village suddenly shook, thousands of branches fluttered, covering the entire village. The sky was covered in green light, not letting the immortal light pass through at all. Xiaohao, just what did you make? Shi Dezhuang looked at the endless immortal light in the air, dumbstruck. Xiaohao, you're in trouble. Little Stone laughed. You broke Grandpa Chief's precious cauldron to refine medicine. What happened? Endless immortal light shone, enveloping the entire Stone Village in the immortal light, as if it had turned into a heavenly palace. Everyone in Stone Village ran out, and when they saw the strange phenomenon in the air, they were also dumbstruck. It's actually this thing? In the sky full of immortal light, Willow Deity's figure faintly appeared beside the huge floating cauldron. Looking at the huge white cauldron shining with immortal light, even Willow Deity was a bit surprised. The Transcendence chapter of the true primordial record is actually here? If this news were to be leaked, countless supreme beings in the upper realm would probably go crazy. Willow Deity turned to look at Xiaohao, who was also dumbstruck, and helplessly shook his head. Grand Empyrean, you're too generous. This is the method to become an immortal, and you're just going to release it like that? Chapter 567. Seal! Willow Deity shouted, and a jade-green radiance enveloped the white cauldron, sealing the endless immortal light. No one can reveal a single word about what happened today. Otherwise, it will be a huge disaster. If this matter is leaked out, the sky will collapse. The strict voice spread throughout Stone Village, and Willow Deity seriously warned everyone. Yes, we will definitely keep our mouths shut. Everyone present knew the seriousness of the problem, and hurriedly answered seriously. Even Xiaohao and the group of children were fiercely warned by their elders not to reveal a single word. Xiaohao, come here. Willow Deity's hazy figure descended, carrying the white cauldron, and called out to Xiaohao. Willow Deity, what orders do you have? Xiaohao hurriedly came in front of Willow Deity, and asked respectfully. Your family's ancestor really is. As the green light flickered, Willow Deity helplessly shook his head. You guys only have such little cultivation, how could you release such a profound technique? Xiaohao was stunned. That ancestor said that this belongs to our supreme palace, and ordered me to take it back. I also didn't know there would be such a huge commotion. Your family's ancestor is using me as a laborer. Willow Deity gloomily waved his hand. Forget it, you won't understand even if I explain it to you. I'll seal it up. If you have a spatial item, put it away and don't take it out again. With Willow Deity's realm, he was an immortal king powerhouse back then. Although he was still in nirvana, he didn't need the immortal ascension technique anymore. Yes. Xiaohao received the white cauldron and waved his hand, putting it into the supreme palace. Okay, you guys can all leave. Remember, you can't reveal a single thing about this. Willow Deity warned again and then disappeared. Although Stone Village's people were confused, since even Willow Deity was so serious, they weren't interested in knowing the reason. Everyone returned to their homes and rested there. True Primordial Records Transcendence Technique, an immortal ascension technique from the chaotic ancient era, has a lot of reference value. Li Yu smiled and nodded. System, scan the white cauldron, and record the True Primordial Records Transcendence Technique into the resource library. The resource library instantly recorded the True Primordial Records Transcendence Technique. Being of the same origin as the Battle God catalog, it is indeed extraordinary. The content of the Transcendence chapter also used runes as a foundation. Starting from the basic runes, one could use runes to decipher the laws of the world and achieve immortality. It's actually somewhat similar to my path. The Transcendence chapter of the True Primordial Record was an immortal ascension technique that used runes to describe the heaven and earth, as well as the essence of the heaven and earth's vital energy. The content of the Transcendence chapter was mainly about using runes to control the heaven and earth yuan qi, transforming the heaven and earth yuan qi into one's own foundation. This was also a part of the origin of matter. This is a pleasant surprise. The Transcendence chapter used runes to control the heaven and earth primordial qi, which was a useful supplement for Li Yu. The so-called precious techniques and divine abilities of this world are actually constructed from runes. The True Primordial Record starts from the basic runes, and in the end, it controls all changes in the heaven-earth yuan qi. It is indeed extraordinary. This harvest opened up Li Yu's mind, and he immediately thought of countless ways to use runes. This is Taotai. This was Baxia. This was Yazi. This was Paleo. With a wave of his hand, countless runes revolved, and the various innate precious techniques of the dragon's 9 sons appeared in Li Yu's hands. The images of the dragon's sons constantly changed in his hands. No wonder they are called the dragon's 9 sons. They really are related. The precious techniques of the dragon's 9 sons were analyzed one by one using the basic runes of the True Primordial Record. Li Yu suddenly discovered that the innate precious techniques of the dragon's 9 sons were of the same origin, inherited from the same source. The dragon's 9 sons, the true dragon precious technique. So that's how it is. With a wave of his hand, the innate precious techniques of the dragon's 9 sons were used at the same time. The images of 9 strange beasts appeared in front of Li Yu. They were all huge, strange beasts, their scales and claws fluttering in the wind. They were vivid and lifelike. 9 sons become one. Bringing his hands together, the images of the dragon's 9 sons loudly exploded, turning into basic runes. Countless runes filled the sky like fireflies, densely covering the entire space. Like fireflies, the runes intersected and fused together, condensing into a huge sphere of light. True dragon manifestation. Having impersonated the ancestral dragon and served as the Dragon Emperor, Liu even had the true dragon transformation. He had an extremely deep understanding of the true dragon. Based on his understanding of the true dragon, Liu pointed a finger, and a stream of dragon chi rushed out, charging into the sphere of light formed from countless runes. Rhea! A dragon's roar shook the world. Countless runes instantly condensed, turning into a golden true dragon that soared into the air and coiled around. Riding the clouds, overturning the seas and rivers, traversing the void, changing size at will, divine power of the true dragon, immortal dragon body, dragon eyes, heaven-shaking dragon roar, devouring the world. 9 great abilities combined into one. The true dragon treasured technique was truly worthy of being one of the strongest treasured techniques in the world. I wonder what's the difference between the true dragon treasured technique I created and the true dragon of the 10 vicious beasts? With a wave of his hand, the true dragon formed from runes instantly shrank into a small snake and fell into Liu's hand. I can give this thing to Xiaohao and the others to experiment with. Liu chuckled and waved his hand to disperse the true dragon treasured technique in his hand. He passed the technique of 9 sons combining into one and transforming into a true dragon to Xiaohao's supreme palace. Xiaohao has already joined Stone Village. The matter of assigning a team to Huangtian Emperor can begin now. The new system of the Supreme Palace was originally a sect master system. Stone Village's environment was also suitable for farming, so Xiaohao could begin his operation. Liu waved his hand and gave Xiaohao another mission. The Supreme Palace in Xiaohao's mind shook violently, and another line of words appeared on the crystal tablet. Supreme Palace has been hidden from the world for a long time. Now that it has come out again, how can it be unknown? I hereby order the current successor of the Supreme Palace, Xiaohao, to spread the name of the Supreme Palace and shake the might of the Supreme Palace. Mission: build a side courtyard of the Supreme Palace. Accept disciples, pass on techniques, and bring glory to the family. A series of majestic heavenly sounds rumbled in Xiaohao's mind. Xiaohao's heart shook, and he raised his head to look at Stone Village. He blinked his eyes. So? Ancestor had me come to Stone Village for this reason? Stone Village was definitely related to Ancestor Taishang. The guardian spirit willow deity knew about Ancestor Taishang, and their relationship was not shallow. The cultivation method that Stone Village's people cultivated was also the human immortal martial path of the Supreme Palace. Therefore, Ancestor Taishang's meaning was already very clear. Stone Village was going to become a side courtyard of the Supreme Palace. But how do I build a side courtyard of the Supreme Palace? Although Xiaohao had reincarnated 100 times and his mind was already mature, he still had no idea how to build a sect. He didn't know where to start. The Supreme Palace in his mind vibrated again. A ray of light rushed out from the crystal tablet and entered Xiaohao's mind. A message entered his mind. So it's like this? When this message entered his mind, Xiaohao immediately understood what he had to do. The buildings of the Supreme Palace can all be built in Stone Village? With a turn of his mind, Xiaohao's soul entered the Supreme Palace in his mind. He discovered that the only thing that could be built was the refining pavilion. The Ancestor Hall is an important place of the sect, so it definitely can't be built in a side courtyard. If the refining pavilion can be built, then it can be used to refine all kinds of equipment for Stone Village. This is really too good. Xiaohao bowed towards the Ancestor Hall. Rest assured, Ancestor Taishang, disciple Xiaohao will definitely not disappoint Ancestor Taishang's expectations. Chapter 568. Grandpa Patriarch, I have something to tell you. The next morning, Xiaohao ran in front of the old patriarch at the first glimmer of dawn. Grandpa Patriarch, I want to build a house in the village. Build a house? The old patriarch froze for a moment, then laughed out loud. Little brat, it's still too early for you to marry a wife. Why build a house? Live with little Shirtu in my house. When you grow up, Grandpa will build a big house for you. It's not like that. Xiaohao heard the old patriarch's words and helplessly shook his head. Grandpa Patriarch, I'm building this house to refine weapons and equipment. Refine weapons and equipment? The old patriarch's whole body trembled as he looked at Xiaohao with a face full of shock. He eagerly asked, Can you really refine weapons and equipment? In the depths of Stone Village, all kinds of weapons and equipment were very simple and crude. Spears, big clubs, bows, arrows, javelins, these were all crudely made from animal bones and wood. They were simply unsightly. At this moment, hearing Xiaohao say that he could refine weapons and equipment, the old patriarch was unable to contain his joy. Yes. Xiaohao nodded. Grandpa Patriarch, as long as this house is built, any kind of weapons and equipment can be refined. Great, great. The old patriarch's eyes shone. Let's go, I'll let them build a house for you. It'll be built quickly for you. Reaching out to grab Xiaohao, the old patriarch hurriedly ran out of the door. His joyful laughter woke up the sleepy little Shirtu. Is it time to eat? Little Shirtu rubbed his eyes and ran out in a daze. Grandpa Patriarch, there's no need to build a new house. Is there an empty house in the village? Seeing that the old patriarch was about to ring the big bell and wake up everyone who was still sleeping, Xiaohao hurriedly stopped the old patriarch. An empty house is fine too? Then it's easy. The old patriarch was stunned for a moment, then he pulled Xiaohao and ran in front of an ancient and huge palace near a cliff in the village. This place, the old patriarch's face revealed a nostalgic expression. A few hundred years ago, this was our stone village's shrine. Afterwards, after our stone village's first guardian spirit fell, this shrine became empty. The old patriarch patted Xiaohao's head and said with a sigh, The god has fallen. I'll leave this temple to you. Stone Village's first guardian spirit was actually a god? In this world, god was not a casual title. The path of cultivation was divided into the mortal realm, the god realm, and the immortal realm. Someone who could be called a god must be a peerless expert who had advanced to the god realm. Xiaohao's heart trembled slightly. Stone Village is indeed worthy of being the #1 ancestral land of the Stone Country's royal family. Its origins are indeed extraordinary, and its heritage is deep. Walking in front of the ancient temple, Xiaohao reached out his hand and pressed it against the black stone wall of the temple. His mind touched the supreme hall in his mind. With the temple in front of us as the foundation, we will build the crafting pavilion. According to the method given by the Supreme Palace, Xiaohao activated the construction function. Boom! The sky was filled with multicolored light, shrouding the entire temple in multicolored light. The violent tremors caused the entire stone village to violently shake. What are you doing now? On top of the dark green willow tree, tens of thousands of branches whistled and rushed up. The sky was filled with flowing green light, covering up this movement. Willow deity's hazy figure appeared in the green light. It turned its head and looked in Xiaohao's direction. In its clear eyes there was a wave of helplessness. What's going on? Earthquake! The people of Stone Village, who were still sleeping, suddenly woke up. They screamed and rushed out of their rooms. Over there is the temple? What happened? Seeing the multicolored light churning in the direction of the temple, everyone's heart was shocked. They hurriedly ran towards the temple. Old Chief? Xiaohao? And Little Stone? What are you guys doing? The people of Stone Village looked at the three figures in front of the temple with a blank face. They were completely confused about the situation. Don't be noisy. Xiaohao is building the crafting pavilion. After it is finished, he can make all kinds of weapons and equipment for everyone. The old chief hurriedly stopped everyone, not letting them disturb Xiaohao. So it's not for food? Little Stone rubbed his head. Only then did he wake up in a daze. You little guy. Reaching out his hand and rubbing Little Stone's head, the old chief smiled and shook his head. Boom! In the multicolored light, a rumbling sound suddenly came out. A simple and mysterious temple rose from the light and stood in front of everyone. The multicolored light converged. A black stone temple stood majestically. It looked very old. Even the stones on the walls had some mottled traces. It's finished. Xiaohao turned his head and looked at everyone. With a face full of smiles, he said, Now, who wants to make weapons and equipment? It's finished just like that? Looking at the black temple in front of them, the people of Stone Village blinked their eyes. They only felt that it was unbelievable. The multicolored light changed. The original temple's appearance changed greatly. It became a tall and majestic building, but it was even more simple and old. It was even more inconspicuous. Let me try. A middle-aged brawny man stepped forward. He handed a bone club and a black iron sledgehammer to Xiaohao. During this period of time, my strength increased a bit. The club is not very convenient to use. Child, can you help Uncle refine the sledgehammer and club into a single club? This brawny man was called Shilinghu. He was the hunting chief of Stone Village. He was also the person who brought everyone to practice martial arts every morning. No problem. Xiaohao reached out and took the bone club and sledgehammer. He walked into the black temple. There was a red furnace in the middle of the temple. After everyone followed Xiaohao into the temple, they only felt a wave of heat hit them in the face. I'm going to start refining. Xiaohao threw the bone club and sledgehammer into the furnace. With a boom sound, raging flames surged. The bone club and sledgehammer instantly melted, turning into a ball of red molten liquid. Uncle Hu, what kind of weapon do you want? While controlling the furnace's fire, Xiaohao turned his head and asked Shilinghu. A big club is fine. As long as the weight is heavy enough, it's sturdy enough. Shilinghu also didn't know what Xiaohao could refine, so he didn't ask for too much. That's too simple. Xiaohao smiled. Uncle Hu, that bone club of yours is the horn of the green grasshopper. It also has a part of the green grasshopper's incomplete runes. I'll refine these runes out as well. According to the instructions given by the Supreme Palace, Xiaohao set the shape of the big club and reshaped the ball of molten liquid. A moment later, a scorching hot red club about 5 feet long appeared in the air. Shwa! A cold mist washed over, and the burning hot club instantly cooled down. Success! With a wave of his hand, the big club fell into Xiaohao's hands. This was a pitch-black club. It was about 5 feet long and had a half-foot-long spike at the tip. The top half had 8 edges and rows of densely packed protrusions. The handle was perfectly round and densely covered in fish scales. Uncle Hu, take a look and see if it fit. Xiaohao extended his hand and handed the big club to Shilinghu. Okay. Shilinghu took the big club and casually waved it a few times. The protrusions on the big club faintly emitted traces of lightning, revealing a fierce and berserk power of thunder. It actually has the power of thunder and lightning? Is it a rune treasure technique? Seeing this lightning, everyone's hearts were filled with shock. A weapon with rune power was simply too rare. In the entire Stone Village, there were only 2 rune treasures passed down from their ancestors. Now, the weapon that Xiaohao casually made actually had rune power? Wasn't this too frightening? Recommended Wei Fengchenhan's new book, Number 1 in 2 Worlds. A paper rune crane communicates with mortals and immortals. Through live streaming, one can cultivate ancient immortal techniques and use technology to change life in the immortal world. Chapter 569. I want to forge too. Me too. Child, don't forget your uncle. Seeing how extraordinary the weapons in Linghu's hands were, the other people in Stone Village could no longer sit still. What's all the noise about? The old chief fiercely slammed his walking stick and shouted at the crowd, "Come one by one, go back and prepare the things first." Yes, yes. Everyone dispersed and hurriedly ran home to gather materials, planning to forge weapons and equipment. I also want to forge a treasure, but I don't have any materials. Little Shirtu rubbed his head, his eyes rolling around. I remember that Grandpa Chief has a black iron whetstone at home, perfect for me to forge a weapon. Little Shitta's figure flashed as he quickly rushed out to get the materials. This little guy. The old chief helplessly shook his head and turned to look at Xiaohao. Child, refining these won't harm you, right? The old chief was a bit worried about Xiaohao. Legend has it that some tribes needed a blood sacrifice to forge weapons. If the forging damaged this child's body, then it wouldn't work. It's fine. These are all the functions of the weapon forging pavilion. I don't need to use much strength. Xiaohao pointed at the furnace in front of him and smiled at the old chief. Grandpa Chief, don't worry, this weapon forging pavilion was created by the Grand Ancestor. I just need to open it and it won't take much effort. He's right. A hazy green light rippled as Willow Deity's figure appeared in the weapon forging pavilion. I just saw it. Forging weapons is the creation god power of this weapon forging pavilion. Willow Deity's figure was faintly discernible in the green light, as if it was an illusion floating in the green light. Looking around the weapon forging pavilion, Willow Deity nodded in admiration. There's nothing it can't forge, nothing it can't forge. The Grand Empyrean's ability to create all things is truly admirable. Thank you, Willow Deity, for your guidance. The old chief bowed towards Willow Deity. No need to be so polite. Willow Deity waved his hand to help the old chief up and nodded slightly. There's a god's body buried under Stone Village. When I was undergoing nirvana, I took root in Stone Village and absorbed the remaining divinity power in the god's body, allowing me to recover my life force. There's a god buried under Stone Village? Could he be the first guardian spirit? The old patriarch exclaimed in shock. That's not it. This divine body has been buried for a long time, even longer than the existence of Stone Village. Willow Deity shook her head and waved her hand. A huge crack appeared on the ground outside the crafting pavilion, and a huge golden skeleton slowly rose from the ground. This was the skeleton of a half-human, half-beast. It had a human head, a beast body, and 6 wings on its back. The skeleton was hundreds of meters tall, and its entire body flickered with golden light. It emitted a vast and mighty aura. It's a waste to bury this thing underground. Since you can refine artifacts, then refine it as well. The Willow Deity waved its hand and sent the huge skeleton into the weapon refining pavilion. Its figure flickered and disappeared. A divine body. This is the body of a god. The old patriarch's eyes lit up, and his body trembled with excitement. If this thing is refined into a weapon, it would be unimaginably powerful. Grandpa Patriarch, this giant skeleton is most suitable for refining a flying relic. It has 6 wings, so it can be refined into 3 pairs of wings. Xiaohao said to the old patriarch. He bent down, grabbed the huge skeleton, and threw it into the furnace of the weapon refining pavilion. Boom! Flames surged, and the golden divine body melted in an instant. This is an Yingzhao? While refining the golden skeleton, Xiaohao understood the origin of this skeleton from the information provided by the weapon refining pavilion. Wings of Yingzhao refine. According to the instructions of the weapon refining pavilion, the so-called power of creation that drove the weapon refining pavilion surged, and 3 pairs of golden wings appeared in the flames. Done. The flames dissipated, and the 3 pairs of wings cooled and solidified, floating in front of Xiaohao. The golden wings looked like wings, but in fact, the feathers were all made of thin pieces of bone. The golden wings were like the wings of a golden-winged rock. Brilliant golden light flowed, and the divine power was vast. Each bone feather was as sharp as a knife. In addition to flying, its lethality was also terrifying. What beautiful wings! At this moment, Little Stone rushed into the weapon-refining pavilion with a long piece of black iron in his arms. Seeing the 3 pairs of golden wings floating in the air, Little Stone's eyes lit up, but then he shook his head. It's a pity that it can't be eaten. This is a flying relic, and it's also a weapon. It's not for eating. Xiao Hao stretched out his hand, and the 3 pairs of wings shrunk to the size of a palm and fell into Xiao Hao's hand. Grandpa Patriarch, how do you think we should distribute this? What's there to distribute? The old patriarch smiled. You take one. Little Stone takes one. As for the remaining one, I'll just leave it for now. You can come and get it when you need it. Okay. Little Stone threw away the black iron in his hand and reached out to take the pair of wings. He held it in his hand and looked at it fondly. Drip a drop of blood on it and then refine it with your qi. Xiao Hao cut his finger and dripped a drop of blood on the golden wings. Then, his qi surged and poured into the golden wings. Swoosh! Golden light flashed, and a pair of golden wings spread out behind Xiao Hao's back. With a light flap, Xiao Hao rose into the air. Wow! This is so fun! When little Shirtu saw this, he quickly copied Xiao Hao's method and quickly refined his own pair of wings. Oh, spreading his wings, Little Stone let out a strange cry as he soared into the air. He rushed out of the weapon-refining pavilion and circled above Stone Village. That piece of black iron! Xiao Hao retracted his wings and landed on the ground. Seeing the black iron thrown by Little Stone, the notification from the weapon-refining pavilion suddenly rang in his mind. It's actually a divine weapon? The so-called divine weapon was an item used by the god. When a cultivator reached the god realm, they could be called god. Gods were the top existences in the vast wilderness. What kind of divine weapon is this? Xiao Hao bent down and grabbed the long piece of black iron. He waved his hand and threw it into the furnace of the weapon-refining pavilion. No matter what kind of divine weapon it was, as long as the black iron outside was refined, its true form would be revealed. Raging flames surged, and the long piece of black iron was instantly melted, revealing the true form of the divine weapon. This was a 4-qi-long whip with 24 sections. Its entire body was pitch black, and its shape was simple. It looked like a hard whip refined from black stone. This was a hard whip, not a soft whip. It was similar to the deity striking whip, a heavy blunt weapon. Moving mountain whip? Seeing this 4-qi-long whip, the old chief trembled all over, so Stone Clan's ancestral divine weapon was not lost. It's actually the Stone Clan's ancestral divine weapon? Xiao Hao waved his hand and took the moving mountain whip and handed it to the old chief. Ancestor above, the Stone Clan's divine weapon has returned to the hands of the descendants. The old chief held the moving mountain whip and was so excited that tears flowed down his old face. This was the divine weapon refined by Stone Village's first guardian spirit, the Stone God. The Stone God fell, the Stone Clan declined, and the divine weapon, moving mountain whip, was nowhere to be found. At this moment, the moving mountain whip saw the light of day again, and the old chief cried tears of joy. Chapter 570. The Great Artifact Refining Campaign lasted for 7 days. When a little brat came to the blacksmith pavilion with a wooden horse to refine weapons, the old patriarch slapped him out of the pavilion. At this point, Stone Village's refining operation was successfully completed. Long spears, big clubs, giant axes, heavy hammers, javelins, bows and arrows. Everyone's weapons in Stone Village were all upgraded. Apart from that, the crude beast leather armor was also reforged. After fusing with some black iron and adding some runes, although these leather armors did not look very exquisite and the style was very simple, Their defensive power had increased countless times. Good treasure. Shi Linghu wore a pair of beast leather gloves on his hands. He waved his hand, and with a flash of runes, a huge beast claw appeared out of thin air. With a slap, a vast power shook heaven and earth, and divine might overflowed into the heavens. Look at how cocky you are. Shi Shoshan, the stone monkey's father, looked at Shi Linghu's showing-off appearance and curled his lip. He patted his chest, and a rune light suddenly exploded. Roar! A huge vicious beast phantom appeared on top of Shi Shoshan's head, and its berserk aura shook heaven and earth. Are you done yet? The old chief glared and fiercely scolded. Hee, aren't we? Aren't we familiarizing ourselves with the newly refined ancestral artifacts? Shi Linghu and Shi Shoshan awkwardly laughed and fled in a sorry state. Little bastard, you want to burn down our house, right? I'll beat you to death. On the other side of the village, the stone monkey was being chased around by his mother with a stick. As the stone monkey ran, the black short clothes on his body still emitted balls of fire. It looked like his but was on fire. Ha 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 ha. Seeing this scene, the other people in Stone Village immediately laughed out loud. Ha ha. Seeing all this, Xiaohao could not help but laugh. Stone Village's two rune ancestral artifacts, one was a beast claw, and the other was a piece of beast skin. Both of them were reforged by Xiaohao. The beast claw became a pair of gloves and was worn on Shi Linghu's hands. The beast skin was made into a breastplate and was worn on Shi Shoshan's body. As for the stone monkey's black clothes, they came from the fire crow's feathers. The archaic descendant fire crow was eaten by the people of Stone Village. The remaining feathers and bones were all refined by Xiaohao into weapons and equipment. The feathers and some animal skins were refined into a large pile of clothes. Almost everyone in the village had such clothes. The fire crow's feather was an innate ability to control fire. Not only did it possess extraordinary defensive capabilities, it could also withstand fire without being injured. It could even be stimulated with one's qi and blood to release some flames. The stone monkey had activated the power of flames on its clothes at home, which was why it was chased away by its mother. The bones of the 300-meter-long fire crow were refined into a room full of flame arrows by Xiaohao. When the arrow was shot out, flames erupted. Its power was extremely terrifying. Child, you can keep this for yourself. The old patriarch handed over a palm-sized golden-red bone piece. The golden-red runes on the bone piece flickered and emitted endless fire energy. This piece of bone was shaped like a bronze mirror. As the runes flickered, it seemed to contain a scorching volcano. This was the precious bone of the fire crow. The precious bone imprinted with an innate ability possessed an extremely powerful strength. I don't know any flame techniques, so I can't use this thing. Xiaohao shook his head and did not accept the precious bone. Although the fire crow was also an archaic descendant and had the bloodline of the three-legged golden crow. However, if it was the precious technique of the three-legged golden crow, Xiaohao would still be a bit interested. This kind of archaic descendant's precious technique was not very interesting. Then, little Shirtu, do you want this? The old patriarch turned his head and asked little Shirtu, who was playing with his wings. The precious bone of an archaic descendant is not very useful. Little Shirtu did not even raise his head and only shook his head. Then, okay. The old patriarch helplessly smiled and put away the precious bone of the fire crow. His heart was once again filled with sorrow. How long has it been? The current stone village doesn't even care about archaic descendant? However, this really was the truth. Green Peng's precious technique, Human Immortal's martial path, Basha's precious technique, and Taotia's precious technique, that Xiaohao brought. The people of Stone Village even chose to learn pure-blooded true spirits' precious techniques, so who would care about archaic descendants' precious techniques? Little Shirtu was even more terrifying. Xiaohao even taught him the Supreme Palace's true primordial record and heavenly 6 paths of reincarnation. The old patriarch was still a bit worried about this. After all, this was the true inheritance of the Supreme Palace. Would it be a taboo to casually spread it out like this? Would it make the Supreme Venerable unhappy? However, Willow Deity told him that there was no harm. The old patriarch was too lazy to care about it. Time passed day by day, and Stone Village became more and more prosperous. Of course, the brats became more and more daring. Xiao hao, xiao hao. Outside the weapon refining pavilion, Little Shirtu and a group of brats from Stone Village were shouting loudly. Coming! Coming! Ever since the weapon refining pavilion was built, there were many rooms in this huge building other than the furnace. Xiao hao also stayed in the weapon refining pavilion. Walking out of the hall, Xiao hao looked at the group of brats and smiled. What do you want to play today? I'm not playing today. I'm not playing anymore. Little Shirtu laughed and pointed at the forest outside the village. Aunt Ching Ping said that the old crocodile is about to die. Let's go catch it. Archaic descendant is very tasty. Let's eat it. Crocodile? Okay. Xiao hao nodded and followed the group of brats out. Aunt Ching Ping. Little Shirtu raised his head and shouted. The cry of a rock sounded in the sky. Amidst the whistling wind, a huge green rock descended like a dark cloud. This was the green-scaled eagle that Li Yu had turned into a pure-blooded green rock. Aunt Ching Ping, carry us out. We want to catch that old crocodile and eat it. Little Shirtu touched the green rock's feathers and said to it. You guys sit on my back. The green rock nodded and indicated for the children to come up together. Although the green rock could not transform, it had already refined its hyoid bone and could speak. The children climbed onto the green rock's back. The green rock spread its wings and rose into the sky. Crocodile. 3 small green rocks flapped their wings and flew over. They circled around everyone and let out cheerful cries. I can fly too. The little guy shouted, and a pair of golden wings spread out from his back. He caught up with the small green rocks and flew towards the desolate mountain range. The green rock had the ability to control the wind, and its flying speed was extremely fast. In a short moment, everyone had already arrived near the crocodile's territory. Roar! An earth-shattering roar of a beast soared into the sky, causing the mountains to tremble. The terrifying aura was like a raging tide. Is that a crocodile? Hearing this beast roar, the little brats stopped playing around and their expressions became serious. It's not a crocodile. It should be some vicious beast that wants to take advantage of the crocodile's old age and wants to fight for territory. Or maybe it also wants to devour this crocodile. Xiao hao glanced forward and discovered that this vicious beast's aura was very different from the crocodile's lightning energy. After thinking for a bit, he figured out the reason. The crocodile is ours. Who dares to snatch it? Little Shirtu roared and waved his hand at everyone. Go. Kill it. Chapter 571. Boom! Half of a stone mountain collapsed, and a huge black shadow jumped out from behind the broken stone mountain. Roar! With a world-shaking roar, the huge black shadow beat its chest and roared towards the sky. It was overflowing with ferocious might and was insufferably arrogant. The black shadow was shaped like an ape. It was 10 zhang tall and was covered in thick black hair. It had a pair of black bat wings on its back and a pair of black horns on its head. It was ferocious and terrifying like a demon. It's a demonic ape. High up in the sky, everyone stood on the back of the azure sky pung. When they saw this huge demonic ape, they couldn't help but suck in a breath of cold air. The demonic ape was also an archaic descendant. It was ferocious and ruthless, filled with blood. It was not to be trifled with. There's more over there. Little Rock pointed in another direction and shouted in shock. There's actually 3 archaic descendant. Everyone looked in the direction Little Rock pointed. They were so shocked that their mouths were wide open and couldn't close for a long time. In the forest below, other than the demonic ape, there were two other huge beasts. Moo, a low bull roar sounded and flames filled the sky. A red bull covered in raging flames was digging its hooves and growling with its head lowered. The bull was more than 5 zhang tall and its body was 20 zhang long. The huge beast was like a small mountain. There were 2 huge horns on its head that were like 2 sharp pillars. It's a fire bull. This was another archaic descendant. The demonic ape and the fire bull were in a pincer attack, confronting a huge beast that was emitting golden light. This huge golden beast was covered in golden light, and its scales were like golden mirrors. The giant golden beast's entire body was shining with golden light. This brilliant golden radiance illuminated the surrounding forest and made it shine with golden light. It was a resplendent scene. This is the old Bayan. Xiao Hao looked at everyone and took a deep breath. Bayan is the strongest, and it specializes in lightning. We can only let Ant Azure Sky Peng deal with it. No problem. The Azure Sky Peng nodded in agreement. Leave that demonic ape to me. Xiao Hao turned to look at Little Rock and the other brats. The fire bull is most powerful in its flames. You are all wearing clothes made of fire crow feathers, so you're not afraid of fire. As long as you don't get hit by it, there's no problem. Don't worry, leave it to us. Little Shirtu patted his chest and promised. There was even a trace of saliva at the corner of his mouth. She could faintly hear him mutter, "Beef, beef. Move out." Xiao Hao waved his hand, and a pair of golden wings unfolded behind his back with a swoosh sound. His figure whistled as he broke through the sky like lightning. Bang! The Azure Sky Peng swept across the sky. A group of devilish brats jumped off the Azure Sky Peng and surrounded the flaming bull. After putting down the devilish brat, the green sky Peng turned its wings and pounced towards the swan eye that was flickering with golden light. With a flap of its wings, an endless storm stirred up wind blades that filled the sky and smashed towards the swan eye. Roar! The heaven-shaking roar was like a thunderclap, shaking the mountains. The fiend roared. Raging flames overflowed into the heavens, and golden light flickered. At this moment, the battle between the devilish brat and the archaic descendant had begun. Power of the earth, Bashia's divine might. With a turn of his golden wings, Xiao Hao was like a bolt of golden lightning. He instantly arrived in front of the black demonic ape. His small body erupted with heaven-piercing divine light. With a heavy stomp on the ground, the earth collapsed with a loud rumble. Xiao Hao's figure was like an arrow that left the bow, fiercely smashing towards the demonic ape. Mountains shifting breaking peaks. Golden divine splendor rushed into the sky. Xiao Hao heavily waved his fist and ruthlessly smashed it down. The golden divine splendor was as vast as the ocean. A dragon head, tortoise body, 4 limbs like heavenly pillars. It was incomparably huge and possessed boundless strength. The image of the dragon son Bashya appeared in the golden ocean. A fist smashed out, shaking the heavens and earth. This fist was too heavy. The strength was too great. An initial stage Saint Physique, 360,000 gene of divine strength. In addition to the Bashya treasured technique, he used the power of the earth. With the two combined, this tyrannical strength was simply unstoppable. Pung! Even though the demonic ape raised its giant arm to block, it was still sent flying by this fist. The bones in its arm made kacha sounds. It was clear that the bones were all broken. Roar! The demonic ape let out a long howl. It swung its almost broken arm and grimaced in pain. Whoosh! A pair of black bat wings suddenly spread open. The demonic ape howled as it rushed into the sky. The 2 demonic horns on its head let out a burst of blood-red lightning. Crack! The blood-red lightning ruthlessly blasted toward Xiao Hao. The sky was overflowing with blood and boundless ferocity. This blood-red lightning actually carried a violent and crazy demonic nature. Damn it! Xiao Hao's figure swayed and dodged this blood-red lightning. He frowned as he stared at the demonic ape that had flown into the sky. "Humph, if you can fly, I can fly too." Xiao Hao's golden wings flapped, and his figure whistled through the air. His figure was like a bolt of golden lightning that shot into the clouds. Wings of Yingzhao, 1,000-feather sword. Brilliant golden light burst out from the two wings, and the bony feathers stretched out like extremely sharp blades. The clanging sounds of swords clashing against each other could be heard. Sword light rained down like rain. A sharp sword light rushed out from each bone feather and slashed toward the demonic ape like rain hitting a banana leaf. Poof! 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 The sword light was as fast as lightning and impossible to guard against. Endless sword light rushed over. Even though the demonic ape tried its best to dodge, half of its body was still enveloped by the sword light. Blood splattered everywhere. Half of the demonic ape's body was cut and bloody. Roar! After 2 consecutive attacks, the demonic ape suffered a great loss. The demonic ape was frightened. It screamed and turned to run. Want to run? You can't run. Xiao Hao flapped his wings and rushed out like lightning. In an instant, he was above the demonic ape. Divine Earth Power, Mount Tai Crush. Dazzling golden light soared into the sky, transforming into a boundless mountain out of thin air. It smashed down viciously at the demonic ape. Boom! The heavy and powerful force smashed onto the demonic ape's body. As if it was being crushed by a huge mountain, the devil ape was smashed down from the sky by this force. With a boom, it smashed into the ground, smashing a small hill into smithereens. Wings of Yingzhao, sky-splitting sword. Xiao Hao's figure swept across the sky like lightning. The brilliant golden wings spread open like an incomparably sharp blade. Xiao Hao's figure swept past and his wings split the sky. Poof! Blood splattered everywhere and a huge head fell to the ground. The demonic ape of the archaic descendant had died miserably at the hands of a devilish child. The precious blood of an archaic descendant cannot be wasted like this. With a wave of his hand, the demonic ape's body was taken into the supreme palace. Moo! The bull's roar shook the sky and raging flames surged. Little Shirtu and a group of devilish children were fighting fiercely with the fire bull. The huge fire bull was covered in raging flames. It opened its huge mouth and spat out a scorching flame. It swept out like a volcanic eruption and turned the ground into lava. However, to the devilish child wearing the fire crow clothes, this was only a little hot. I'll block. A golden-red spear fiercely pierced into the fire bull's neck. Shi Dazhuang held the spear made from the fire crow's beak and claws and firmly held it in front of the fire bull. I'll stab. The stone monkey went behind the fire bull and stabbed the spiraling spear into the fire bull's anus. Awoo! The fire bull let out a miserable howl and trembled in pain. I'll chop. Little Shirtu flapped his wings and a whirlwind erupted from his body. His entire body spun like a windmill. The incomparably sharp wings of Yingzhao were like a storm of blades as they continuously slashed at the fire bull's neck. Moo! The fire bull let out a cry and fell to the ground with a boom. Ha ha! We won! The devilish children cheered loudly. Chapter 572. Ao. The green sky Peng let out a long roar, stirring up an endless storm. Like a tornado, huge trees were crushed, and mountain rocks were sent flying. Ao. The swan Ni roared, and its entire body flickered with golden light. The brilliance was dazzling, and the entire mountain became a golden ocean that surged violently. Hong long long. Kalala. Thunder rumbled and lightning flickered. Golden lightning flashed, and the entire space turned into a sea of lightning. The surrounding mountain collapsed, and the forest turned into fine powder. It was as if doomsday had arrived. So powerful! After taking care of the fire bull and demonic ape, the devilish brats watched the battle between the green sky Peng and the swan Ni. They were extremely shocked. Compared to the demonic ape and fire bull, the Swanee's strength was on a completely different level. If not for the fact that the Swanee was already in its later years and was about to die, even the green sky pung might not be its opponent. The Swanee was the son of a dragon. Although this Swanee was not completely pure-blooded, its bloodline was also very pure. It was not one of those mixed-blood descendants whose form had changed. Although the green sky pung was pure-blooded, it had only been 2 years since it was turned into a pure-blooded by Liu. Its strength had not fully matured yet, and compared to this old Swanee, there was still a gap. Let's go. Capture this Swanee as well. Shi Dezhuang raised his golden-red spear and roared loudly. No need. Xiao Hao sighed and shook his head. It's about to die. Although this Swanee still looked majestic, Xiao Hao could clearly feel that its soul flame was already like a candle in the wind, about to be extinguished. Stop! Xiao Hao called out to the green sky pung, indicating for it to retreat. The green sky pung nodded, and with a flap of its wings, it retreated far away from the battlefield. The old Swanee stood alone on the hill, proudly standing upright. Its enormous body was majestic and majestic. You're about to die. Xiao Hao stepped forward and raised his head to look at the old Swanee. Before you die, don't you want to have a good battle? Brilliant golden light rushed into the sky, and a vast ocean appeared above Xiao Hao's head. Swanee, do you dare to fight? With a step forward, a huge force shook the earth. Xiao Hao released all of his aura, activating all of his strength. Aolo, a wild roar shook the heavens and the earth, as the Swanee let out a long howl towards the sky. The golden radiance on its body was incomparably blazing, as if a scorching sun had leaped out from the sky. Smoke and clouds curled up, multicolored light shone brilliantly, thunder rumbled, and lightning flashed. The old turtle leaped up, and one of its huge claws burst out with endless golden lightning bolts as it smashed down towards Xiao Hao. Heaven and earth shook. This was the last strength of its life, the last glory of its life, and the last battle of its life. The son of the dragon, Swanee, was in charge of the cloud beast. Thunder was born from the clouds, and it was by Wu's strongest and most violent power. The lightning claw struck out, stirring up the wind and clouds. Endless clouds of smoke surged out like the brilliant sunset glow on the horizon. Divine power of the earth, move mountains and break mountains. A golden divine mountain that connected the heavens and the earth appeared above Xiao Hao's head. Xiao Hao stepped on the ground, his figure straight like a towering mountain. Mountains are the backbone of the earth. A straight spine was an unyielding fighting spirit, an undefeatable belief. A fist smashed out, moving mountains and breaking mountains. The divine mountain flickering with golden light, following Xiao Hao's fist, fiercely collided with the Swanee's huge claws flickering with lightning. Hong Long! Mountains collapsed and the earth split. Lightning flashed and thunder rumbled. The divine mountain shining with golden light exploded with a loud bang. Xiao Hao spat out a mouthful of blood as his figure flew back 100 zhang. His entire body flickered with lightning and was charred black. Xiao Hao! The devilish brats cried out in alarm and hurriedly ran towards Xiao Hao. I'm fine. Xiao Hao coughed a few times and spat out a cloud of black smoke. It seemed like even his internal organs were burnt by the lightning. Golden radiance blossomed from his entire body, and his qi and blood surged like a raging tide. The injuries on Xiao Hao's body quickly recovered, and in a short period of time, he had already recovered to normal. Good fellow, your body is really strong. Shi Dezhuang patted Xiao Hao's shoulder and laughed loudly. Aowo! The Swanee let out a crazy roar. Multicolored light surged, clouds and smoke surged, and endless divine splendor violently erupted. Old Swanee! The devilish brats cried out in alarm. Their faces were filled with nervousness as they looked towards the Swanee standing tall on the hill. They only saw the Swanee standing tall on the hill. Its entire body was shining brilliantly, and multicolored light curled up around it. Its divine might was awe-inspiring, and its might suppressed the entire world. It's already dead. Xiao Hao shook his head. It's too old and only has the strength for one last attack left. If it can attack again, I won't be able to hold on either. It's dead? Ha 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 ha. We won. The devilish brats cheered and shouted loudly. They were in high spirit. This was a glorious victory. Defeating 3 archaic descendants, even if they were a group of adults, this was a battle record that they could be proud of. Moreover, this was only a group of children. According to the rules of the wasteland, the victor will receive the spoils of war. Shi Dezhuang pointed at the Swanee, and then at the fireball that fell on the ground. These are our spoils of war. Xiao Hao, where's that demonic ape? Little Stone looked towards the place where Xiao Hao and the demonic ape fought. He didn't find the demonic ape's corpse, so he asked Xiao Hao with a bit of surprise. I have storage equipment, so I put away the demonic ape. Xiao Hao smiled as he explained to everyone. He walked to the firebull's side, waved his hand, and put the firebull back into the Supreme Palace. Don't put it all away. When Xiao Hao was about to put away the Swanee, the group of devilish brats stopped him. According to the rules of the wasteland, the strongest prey must be carried back in one piece to show the hunter's bravery. Shi Dezhuang's face lit up. Back then, my dad only hunted a green Swanee. What we've hunted now is a Swanee. Yeah! Carry it back. Carry it back. The devilish brats all liked to join in the fun, and they all requested to carry the Swanee back. Okay. Then let's carry it back. Everyone was in high spirits, so Xiao Hao couldn't be a wet blanket. Thus, everyone found some mountain vines and tied the huge Swanee to a frame made of huge wood. Together, they carried the Swanee back to Stone Village. Even though these children were young, they practiced the worldly immortal martial path, and ate the flesh of an archaic descendant, so their strength was extremely tyrannical. Even though the Swanee was huge, it didn't seem heavy when they carried it. Laughing and talking along the way, the devilish brats carried the Swanee all the way over the mountains towards Stone Village. The devilish brats were in high spirits, but they didn't realize that when they carried the Swanee over the mountains, they had already fallen into the eyes of others. That's a Swanee? On top of a large tree in the mountains, a figure stood on top of a tree, watching from afar as the Stone Village youth carried the Swanee back while laughing and talking. Stone Village's little brats carrying a Swanee? That's right, this old Swanee was originally about to die. It must have been that the old Swanee just happened to die, and was coincidentally picked up by Stone Village's little brats. The figure on the tree's 2 eyes emitted a cold light. The Swanee's entire body is a treasure. Since I've encountered it, I naturally can't let it go. A whistle sounded, and a group of valiant figures came out from the forest. Bei Feng, what happened? In the group, a large man raised his head and asked the figure on the tree. Over there. Stone Village's little brats picked up the old Swanee's corpse. Bei Feng stood on top of the tree, coldly saying a sentence. What? A Swanee? Steal it! Steal it! When the people under the tree heard this, their eyes immediately lit up, and they rubbed their fists and shouted. Go! Get rid of those little brats and steal the Swanee! Bei Feng jumped down from the tree, and with this group of people, he fiercely rushed out of the forest, chasing after the devilish brats of Stone Village. Thus, the devilish brats were about to be robbed. Chapter 573. Xiao! A sharp arrow pierced through the air, making a sharp whistling sound as it shot through the air like lightning. Careful! Xiao Hao waved his hand and a strong wind surged up, slapping the arrow away. Who dares to mount a sneak attack? Being attacked by a sneak attack, the brats of Stone Village were immediately enraged as they raised their necks and roared. Sneak attack? This is just a greeting. In the forest, silhouettes after silhouettes rushed out and surrounded Xiao Hao's group. A teenage boy raised a large bow and sneered at the crowd. He knocked another arrow in his hand. People from Wolf Village? Why are you attacking us? Sure Dazhuang's face was full of anger as he roared at the people of Wolf Village. No need to ask. Xiaohao signaled to the people of Stone Village and put down the bayan on his shoulder. They definitely came for this bayan. It's good that you know. The bow-wielding teenager, Bei Feng, sneered as he slowly pulled open his longbow. The sharp arrowhead flashed with a cold light. A treasure like the bayan is not something you can possess. You want to steal our prey? Little Shirtu glared. You dare to steal my things. Steal? Bei Feng disdainfully curled his lips. Humph, no need to waste words with them. Go, slaughter them. Xiao. The sharp arrow left the bowstring and pierced through the air. On the sharp arrowhead, runes began to circulate as a sharp fang appeared on the arrowhead. Kill. The other people of Wolf Village also moved at the same time. One by one, they brandished their spears and axes as they fiercely attacked. You dare to steal our things? The brats were unable to restrain their anger. One by one, they brandished their weapons and roared as they charged forward. Even an archaic descendant was killed, and they achieved a glorious victory. This group of brats was full of confidence, and were not afraid of anything. The people of Wolf Village provoked them. This was a tragedy. Kill. The golden-red spear exploded with flames that filled the sky. It was like a flaming spear as it fiercely swept out. Sure Dazhuang took the lead, as if he was an army of 10,000, invincible. Attack. Hit him hard. The devilish brats roared. Their morale was high, and they weren't scared at all. Their fighting spirit soared into the heavens, as if they even dared to overturn the heavens. Not only did they want to rob us, but they also wanted to kill us. The people of Wolf Village are too vicious. Xiaohao's whole body burst out with a mighty golden brilliance, and the shadow of a majestic mountain appeared above his head. He reached out his hand and crushed the rune arrow shot by Bei Feng. Divine power of the earth, move mountains and break mountains. The mighty golden radiance was like a vast ocean. Xiaohao's entire body had transformed into a majestic divine mountain condensed from golden light. He rampaged all the way, ruthlessly crushing everything in his path. Bang! 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 Along the way, people and horses were thrown off their feet. All of the wolf villagers who appeared in front of Xiaohao were sent flying with a blood-curdling scream, as if they were hit by a dragon-horned elephant. Ah! How can he be so powerful? Even though the devilish brats were young, after cultivating the human immortal martial way and the true spirit treasure technique, their strength was extremely powerful. Compared to the people of Wolf Village, they were much stronger. In addition, the brats were equipped with excellent equipment. Fire crow armor, all kinds of rune weapons, they were armed to the teeth. Rune treasures. They have rune treasures. Quickly summon the guardian spirit. Not long after the battle began, the people of Wolf Village were completely defeated. This was because the devilish brats were kind-hearted and did not kill them. Otherwise, the people of Wolf Village would have suffered heavy casualties. Guardian Spirit, show your divinity! Bei Feng also knew that something was wrong. The strength of the children of Stone Village exceeded his expectations. He hurriedly took out a beast tooth bracelet from his bosom. When the beast tooth bracelet exploded with a radiance that filled the sky. The beast's teeth turned into specks of light and rushed into the sky like shooting stars. The specks of light that filled the sky condensed into a wolf-shaped vicious beast. It opened its malevolent mouth and swallowed the devilish brats of Stone Village in one gulp. A mighty power swept out, and a cruel and ruthless aura covered the sky and covered the earth. Wolf Village's guardian spirit is showing its divinity? Seeing the huge wolf-shaped vicious beast in the air, Xiaohao coldly snorted. Just an old wolf. You even killed an archaic descendant, why would we be afraid of you? Let me. Just as Xiaohao was about to make a move, he saw Little Stone shout loudly. A pair of golden wings spread out from his back with a schwa sound, and his figure soared into the sky. Thousand feather soared. The bone feathers on the golden wings spread open. Boundless sword light erupted from the feathers. It was like a torrential storm as it ruthlessly slashed at the wolf figure that appeared in the air. Ao, with a mournful cry, the sword light swept past, and the wolf figure exploded. Gotcha! Under this attack, even the beast's tooth bracelet was broken. What? This is a guardian spirit's treasure teeth refined into a treasured artifact. How could it? Bei Feng's expression changed greatly, and his forehead was already covered in cold sweat. Retreat! Retreat! With the current situation, there was no way they could directly confront the children of Stone Village. Bei Feng hurriedly gave the order, and led the defeated soldiers to escape. Oh! Victory! Ha 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 ha! It was another great victory! The devilish brats happily shouted and jumped. The wolf village's guardian spirit is an old wolf. Wolves and wolves colluding together, this kind of creature is the most cunning. This matter, I'm afraid it won't end like this. Xiao Hao looked towards the direction of the wolf village's retreat and frowned. His eyes flashed with a cold light. If you still dare to make a move, then don't blame me for starting a massacre. In the entire desolate land, the human race was in a weak position. From the bottom of his heart, Xiao Hao did not want to engage in this kind of civil war. However, if you treat him as your own race, he will treat you as an enemy. There was no need to keep this kind of person alive. Let's go. Let's go home. The devilish brats once again lifted up the wolf and carried it on their shoulders. They happily rushed towards the direction of Stone Village. Along the way, they crossed over mountains, but the road was very peaceful. They actually didn't make a move? Xiao Hao was a little surprised. According to his calculations, the people of Wolf Village would definitely not let this matter go. On a distant hill, a mournful wolf howl suddenly sounded. As this wolf howl sounded, waves of mournful wolf howls sounded from all directions at the same time. Damn it! Xiao Hao's expression changed. He already knew what the people of Wolf Village were planning. The guardian spirit was in a sorry state. It summoned the surrounding wolf packs and ordered them to attack them. Although the dire wolves were not too strong, there were too many of them. It was difficult for a fierce tiger to fight against a pack of wolves. Whoa! A 50-zhang-long old wolf covered in golden fur stood up on its hind legs and let out a roar toward the sky. Behind it, the densely packed dire wolves surged forward like a raging tide. Prepare for battle! Xiao Hao shouted and put down the wolf that he lifted up. He spread his wings and rushed into the sky with a whistle. Little Stone, summon the Azure Sky Pung. You guys guard the wolf. I'll go get rid of that dire wolf. Xiao Hao gave an order to those below him. His figure swept through the sky and rushed towards the golden dire wolf. Pung! The Azure Sky Pung brought the 3 young Azure Pungs and broke through the sky. With a flap of its wings, countless wind blades covered the sky and swept across like a tornado. The raging tide of dire wolves suddenly became a mountain of corpses and a sea of blood. Dire wolf, give me your life. After finding the dire wolf's position, Xiao Hao's wings flapped and his figure swept through the sky like a streak of golden lightning, pouncing towards the dire wolf. Roar! The golden dire wolf stood up and its entire body erupted with runes. A huge wolf-shaped beast appeared above its head and fiercely bit towards Xiao Hao, who was descending from the sky. Ing Zhao's wings, space-splitting sword slash. This pair of wings was refined by the divine realm Ing Zhao and had the essence of a divine tool. Even the archaic descendant demonic ape was beheaded. How could this dire wolf block it? The wings slashed out and the dire wolf let out a mournful cry as its entire body was cut in half. Woo-woo! With the dire wolf's death, the wolf pack immediately howled in fear and scattered in all directions. Victory! The devilish brats raised the weapons in their hands and cheered. Recommended my friend's new book, The Strongest Pleasurable System, the story of an old driver driving in a fantasy world. Chapter 574. Xiaohao, let's go flatten Wolf Village. Seeing Xiaohao carrying the corpse of the old wolf, Shi Dazhuang went up and roared while raising his spear. The repeated attacks made the group of brats furious. They wanted nothing more than to flatten Wolf Village. No need. Placing the old wolf's corpse on the wooden shelf, Xiaohao shook his head. The guardian spirit is dead, so Wolf Village can no longer survive in the wasteland. If they don't want to be exterminated, they can only migrate. They are no longer a threat. That's true. Hearing Xiaohao's words, the others nodded in agreement. Let's go back. Everyone lifted up the wooden shelf again and carried the prey forward. The journey back was peaceful, and there were no more attacks. After half a day, Stone Village's dark green willow tree appeared in front of everyone's eyes. Xiaohao, let the prey out. Let the villagers see what we can do. The stone monkey's suggestion received everyone's approval. Xiaohao had no choice but to place the devil ape and flame bull in the supreme palace, on the wooden shelf. 3 archaic descendants and 1 guardian spirit, the old wolf. The group of devilish brats carried the huge beasts that were the size of small mountains. They were breathing heavily, but they were still in high spirits as they strode into Stone Village. Ah, that's devil ape, flame bull, Peng Peng, and that old wolf from Wolf Village? Heavens! These are the prey of the brats? The brats raised their heads and puffed out their chests as they strode forward in high spirit. Shameful things, who told you to mess around? If we want to hunt, do we need you? You dare to hunt archaic descendants? How dangerous is that? Do you want to overturn the heavens? The old chief raised his wooden staff and roared as he charged forward, smashing them in the face. Run! The victorious brat army, under the old chief's staff, collapsed in an instant. They threw down their spoils of war and scattered. This group of brats, they're really something. The army of brats collapsed. A large group of people from Stone Village gathered around, looking at the prey and sighing in admiration. I met this demonic ape when I was young when I entered the mountains. At that time, it only let out a loud roar, and it scared the shit out of me. Shi Shoshan pointed at the pitch-black devil ape and shook his head with a bitter smile. This group of brats, the oldest is only 13 years old. They actually hunted such a terrifying prey. It's really too frightening. I've encountered Bai and An Huanyo before, but I could only avoid them from afar. I didn't dare to provoke them. Shi Linghu also had a bitter smile on his face. They can even kill an archaic descendant and conveniently slaughter the Wolf Village's guardian spirit. They're much stronger than we were back then. They're lucky. The old patriarch nodded with a smile on his face. He turned to look at the adults in the village and sighed again. Although I have the techniques bestowed by the Grand Empyrean and several true spirit treasured techniques, I still have many true spirit treasured techniques. You are all old and your future is limited. These little bastards are our hope. We can't let anything happen to them. Yeah. Everyone nodded and sighed. To the people of Stone Village, the changes in these short 2 years were simply earth-shattering. They could actually pick and learn techniques that they didn't even dare to think about in the past. Their weapons and equipment were all rune treasures. They could even casually eat the flesh of archaic descendant. The good fortune bestowed by the Grand Empyrean had greatly benefited Stone Village. Unfortunately, these adults were old, and their path of cultivation was limited. However, this group of children had a solid foundation since they were young, and their future was limitless. They were the future of Stone Village, so naturally, they couldn't have any mishaps. Watch them closely in the future, don't let them cause trouble everywhere. The old patriarch patted the pile of prey. Although there aren't any strong beasts nearby, there are still 4 of them. However, there are still 4 big guys wandering around in the mountains. Don't let them get involved. Yes. Everyone hurriedly agreed. Alright. Since they've brought back their prey, then let's eat it. The old patriarch waved his hand, and another feast began. Eat it, eat it. I want to eat beef. Little Stone scurried out, clapping his hands, shouting and jumping. Saliva flowed out from the corner of his mouth. Thus, the archaic descendant fire bowl was pushed onto the grill by everyone. 3 archaic descendant and an old wolf as a bonus made everyone in Stone Village eat until their bodies glowed and emitted flames. These fierce beasts were all huge, and even if the few hundred people of Stone Village ate together, it still took half a month to finish them. Boom! Streaks of chi and blood rushed up from the top of their heads, like smoke signals soaring into the sky. In Stone Village, regardless of gender or age, everyone's cultivation had a huge breakthrough. Their cultivation advanced by leaps and bounds, and everyone stepped into the late stage of the blood transformation realm. The human immortal Martial Dao also reached the level of opening the apertures. Little Stone didn't disappoint, and opened his human immortal acupoint. His strength increased to 150,000 kilograms, 3 times that of a pure-blooded true spirit infant. Other than being slightly weaker than Xiaohao, Little Stone's divine strength was unstoppable. Xiaohao is refining again. The 3 archaic descendants' fur and bones were all excellent refining materials, so Xiaohao naturally wouldn't waste them. Monkey, this is yours. Xiaohao took out a pair of palm-sized black bat wings and handed it to Shi Zhonghe. This was a flying treasure refined from the devil ape's bat wings. The stone monkey was quick-witted and nimble, so it was suitable for this kind of flying treasure. Haha! This monkey can also fly. The stone monkey took the black wings, and after refining them, it spread its wings and rushed up. It screamed as it rushed into the sky, showing off everywhere. Dazhuang, you are suitable for direct combat. This is yours. A golden heavy armor was handed to Shi Dazhuang. This was a set of heavy armor refined by Xiaohao from the Swanee's scales. This set of heavy armor, in addition to its astonishing defensive power, also had the ability of the Swanee to fly for short distances. Thank you. Shi Dazhuang refined the heavy armor, and with a flash of golden light, a set of golden heavy armor covered his body. Holding a long spear and wearing heavy armor, Shi Dazhuang was awe-inspiring, like a peerless general. As for the other companions, Xiaohao refined their fire crow feathered clothes again. With the addition of the fire bull's skin, Swanee's scales, and devil ape's skin, all of the fire crow feathered clothes were upgraded. The newly refined clothes still looked like black clothes, but their defensive power was very strong, and they could resist fire, electricity, and dark curses. The bones of the 3 archaic descendants were used by Xiaohao to strengthen the weapons of the Stone Village people. The rune-precious bones of the 3 archaic descendants were also refined into rune treasures, and were given to the old chief for safekeeping. The only thing left were the long horns of the 3 archaic descendants. The 3 pairs of horns were refined into 3 long spears by Xiaohao. Mengzi, Fengzi, Dashan, these are for you guys. Xiaohao handed the 3 long spears to Shi Meng, Shi Feng, and Shi Dashan. The 3 of them were the older ones among the devilish children, and they were all around 10 years old. These 3 long spears were quite suitable for them. With the upgrade of equipment and the increase of cultivation, the construction of Xiaohao's sovereign courtyard was in full swing. At this time, the aristocratic clans of the wasteland gathered at Little Lonely Mountain also began to move. The Luofu clan, Thunder clan, Purple Mountain clan, Golden Wolf clan, and Heavenly Cloud Palace, the 5 aristocratic clans brought their youths and began to train. Coincidentally, their first stop in the wasteland was Stone Village. I recommend Guyu's Path of the Lord God. I personally like this book, so you guys can go take a look. Chapter 575. Grandpa Chief, there's a group of people coming from outside. The stone monkey flapped its black bat wings and landed in the village, shouting at the old chief. Ever since it obtained this pair of bat wings, the stone monkey volunteered to be Stone Village's patrol guard, flying in the air all day long to patrol. Actually, why would he be needed for something like patrolling? The Azure Sky Peng's patrol range was much larger than the stone monkey's. Before the stone monkey reported, the old chief had already heard the news from the Azure Sky Peng. Don't show off your wealth. There's an outsider coming. Everyone, put away your eye-catching things. The old chief used his walking stick to knock on the ground and roared towards the village. With a command, Shi Dazhuang helplessly put away his shining armor, the stone monkey put away the black wings on its back, and the three little azure pengs entered Xiaohao's tool refining pavilion. Other than that, it seemed like there was nothing else to pack. No runes were activated, no strange phenomena appeared. Whether it was armor or weapons, they all looked very normal. Rumble! Not long after, the sound of heavy horse hooves rang out. A group of people riding silver scale horses and a group of people riding golden fur wolves galloped all the way over. In the sky, a huge white feather, a huge beast bone, and a flying flood dragon whistled through the air. On the feather, beast bone, and flying flood dragon, there were a few figures standing. There's a village here? In a moment, this group of people rushed to the entrance of Stone Village. It's just an ordinary little village, someone said disdainfully. Although the village is ordinary, this willow tree should be a guardian spirit. A normal willow tree can also become a guardian spirit. It must have grown for a very long time. On the huge feather, an old man looked towards the village and nodded with a smile. Grandpa, is it very strange for a willow tree to become a guardian spirit? Beside the old man was a pair of twin sisters. Their eyes were as clear as water, and they were as beautiful as lotuses. To become a guardian spirit, one must have powerful strength. A normal willow tree, being able to become a guardian spirit, naturally has extraordinary strength. The old man smiled as he explained to the twin sisters. No matter how strong it is, it's still just a normal willow tree. However, a willow tree that becomes a guardian spirit must have powerful vitality. If we cut it down and make it into a bed, it will definitely nourish the body. On top of the floating giant bone, a teenage boy sneered as he looked at the willow tree in the village. He jumped down and said, "This willow tree is mine." Lei Ming, do you think it's yours just because you said so? This young master has also taken a liking to her. Jiao Peng, the young man from the Luo Fu tribe, jumped down from the flying flood dragon and landed on the ground. Then let's fight. Whoever wins gets to keep it. Another youth flew down from the single-horned silver-scaled horse. Me too. A young man also flew out from the golden wolf. Apart from the twin sisters on the white feather, a youth leapt out from each of the other four directions. Wanting to kill other races' guardian spirits at the drop of a hat, this is not good. The twin sisters glanced at the four youths and frowned slightly, as if they disapproved of their actions. Come, let's see who is the #1 genius of the vast wilderness. Jiao Peng, the young man from the Luo Fu tribe, stood up straight. The runes on his body shone brightly, and a huge flood dragon appeared above his head. You dare to compete with me? This willow tree is mine. The Lei tribe youth's body exploded with dazzling lightning as he confronted the Luo Fu youth. I have no interest in the willow tree, but the title of #1 genius of the vast wilderness belongs to me. A wolf howl rushed out as the Golden Wolf tribe youth directly used the Golden Wolf precious technique. Haha. So funny. #1 genius of the vast wilderness, have you asked me? A mighty purple light rushed out, and the Purple Mountain tribe youth snorted disdainfully. Runes flickered, and the light from the treasures crisscrossed. The four youths fought for the title of #1 genius. Brother Dezhuang, it's so lively outside. The commotion at the entrance of the village attracted the devilish brats of Stone Village. Although the devilish brats already knew that outsiders were coming, they had never seen the outside world before, so they were still very curious about the arrival of outsiders. Wow! So many people! The devilish brats surrounded the entrance of the village and looked at the people outside, all of them talking at once. Are they fighting? Little Shirtu glanced at the four youths fighting in the middle of the field and frowned in confusion. Of course they're not fighting. Shi Dezhuang smiled and shook his head. They're not even using their strength. How is this a fight? They must be playing a game. Yeah. They're so light they don't have any strength. Did they not eat? Shi Mingzi stretched his neck and looked outside the village, asking in confusion. There should be food, right? Look, they're carrying so much food with them. Shi Dezhuang pointed at the flood dragon in the sky and the scaled horse and golden wolf on the ground as he replied to Shi Mingzi. Yeah. Look, that feather and that bone, they must be leftovers. Little Stone nodded heavily, saliva dripping from the corner of his mouth. Poochie! The twin sisters on the white feather covered their faces and laughed. The others from the Thunder Tribe, Purple Mountain Tribe, Golden Wolf Tribe, and Luo Fu Tribe didn't know whether to laugh or cry, and were speechless. The Purple Mountain Tribe's single-horned silver-scaled horse was rumored to have the bloodline of the unicorn, and was a famous horse in the vast wilderness. The Golden Wolf Tribe's Mount Wolf was the descendant of the Golden Wolf Tribe's guardian spirit, and was also extraordinary. The Luo Fu Tribe's Flood Dragon even dared to fight against the Hui Dragon, and was incomparably fierce. In the eyes of these devilish brats, they were all food. What made them even more speechless was that the battle between the four great king clans' geniuses was actually called a game by them, and they even said that they didn't have any strength and didn't eat. This was simply, everyone didn't know what to say. This is preposterous. The four battling geniuses were immediately unable to restrain their anger. You said that we don't have any strength? The Thunder Tribe youth's temper was the most fiery. He turned his head and stared at the entrance of Stone Village, his entire body flickering with lightning as thunder rumbled. The devilish brats of Stone Village looked at each other in dismay, their faces full of confusion. Did they say something wrong? They didn't have any strength to begin with. Bastards! The devilish brats' innocent expressions made the four geniuses even more humiliated and angry. Preposterous! I want to see just how much strength you guys have. The Thunder Tribe youth's figure leapt up, and like a streak of lightning, he instantly rushed to the entrance of Stone Village. With a thunderous explosion, the Thunder Tribe youth struck out with his palm. Strong winds whistled and thunder rumbled. This palm strike contained several thousand gene of strength. However, a mere several thousand gene of strength? Yeah? This big brother, do you want to play a game with us? Little Shirtu blinked his eyes. He stretched out his white and tender little hand and lightly waved it. Yes, it was really just a light wave. Boom! With a loud explosion, sand and pebbles flew everywhere, and the earth shook. Ah! The Thunder Tribe youth screamed miserably, and his figure flew back 100 zhang before smashing into the ground with a boom. So strange. Little Shirtu stood still, and looked at the Thunder Tribe youth with a blank expression. This big brother, why is your strength so weak? Pfff. The Thunder Tribe youth who had just gotten up spat out a mouthful of blood, and his eyes rolled back in anger. Hiss, the surroundings were deathly silent. Had he managed to send the famous genius of the Lightning Tribe flying 100 zhang away with a casual slap? Everyone from the 5 royal families stared at little Shirtu with wide eyes, dumbfounded. This child was only 4 or 5 years old, right? He was actually this strong? Was he still human? Could it be that he was a pure-blooded true spirit infant in human form? At this moment, everyone from the 5 royal families was scared silly. Chapter 576. Damn it! How could you be so heavy-handed? On the floating bone, an old man from the Thunder Clan roared and rushed down. He helped Lei Ming up and quickly took out a pill and fed it to Lei Ming. Cough, cough. Laming coughed a few times before he recovered. Bastard! Do you want to exterminate your clan? Thunder rumbled and lightning flashed. The elder from the Thunder clan was furious. He waved his hand and the monstrous lightning turned into a lightning spear that stabbed towards Little Shirtu. Ah! Why did you hit me? Little Shirtu raised his head in anger. He waved his hand and a palm-sized golden mirror flew out from his hand. Clouds churned and multicolored light flashed. Streaks of rune light wriggled up. Roar! The shadow of a golden swanee appeared. The swan and I faced the lightning spear with a roar that swept through the world. The spear of thunder, which was shining with lightning, instantly collapsed. Like a popped soap bubble, it disappeared without a trace. That is, the swan and I precious bone. A true spirit treasure. Everyone from the 5 royal families jumped up in shock. Seeing the golden mirror in Little Shitta's hand, their eyes were burning like flames. There is such a divine object? A middle-aged man from the Purple Mountain clan jumped down from his silver-scaled horse. His whole body was covered in purple chi. Such a treasure will only bring disaster to this small village. Extermination is right in front of them. This old man cannot bear to see such a miserable situation. I will reluctantly take care of this swan and I precious mirror. This place is only 2,000 li away from my Thunder clan. This small village is under the rule of the Thunder Marquis. There is no need for the Purple Mountain Marquis to worry about our territory. On the white bone, a middle-aged man with a majestic appearance stood up. He glanced at the people from the Purple Mountain Marquis residence and snorted lightly. Our Golden Wolf Marquis residence does not recognize this place as the Thunder Marquis territory. A man in a golden robe stood up and retorted. No need to quarrel. The item is still in the hands of others. It is not too late to fight after you get it. The middle-aged man from the Luo Fu clan, Jiao Qing, jumped down from the flying dragon. What is Yuntian Palace's opinion? The middle-aged man from the Purple Mountain clan looked at the old man on the white feather and asked. We withdraw. The old man from the Heavenly Cloud Palace glanced at the village with a serious expression. He ordered Bai Yu to retreat to the side. Grandpa, what did you find? The twin sisters asked the old man. Nothing. The old man shook his head. It's just that I've learned the art of refining weapons before. I noticed that the bai and mirror in that child's hand seemed to be newly made. At this point, the old man shook his head again. If it's really newly refined, then it's impossible. That meant that there was an expert in the village. Our Yuntian Palace has been around for a long time, and we have a strong foundation. There is no need for us to take such a risk for a lesser relic. After Heavenly Cloud Palace retreated, the other 4 royal clans joined forces to attack Stone Village. Hand over the Swan and I treasure mirror. Otherwise, I'll kill all of you. The flying dragon and white bones floated in the air. The silver scale horse riders and gold wolf riders lined up in front of Stone Village. His murderous intent soared to the heavens. Kill them all? Kill all of them. The devilish brats looked at each other and their eyes lit up. Is this a war? Then let's fight. Armor! Raise the troops. Formation! Shi Dazhuang's body emitted a golden light, and a swan and I heavy armor covered his body. He raised a golden red spear in his hand, and raging flames surged into the sky. Behind him, the devilish brats' bodies emitted streaks of fiery light. The newly made fire crow armor covered their bodies, and they raised their spears high. They actually have so many good things? Haha, we're rich. Seeing the equipment on the children's bodies, the eyes of the 4 royal clans lit up, as if they were about to burst into flames. It's just as I expected. The old man from the Heavenly Cloud Palace sucked in a breath of cold air. He brought the twin sisters and retreated a bit further, watching from afar. Kill! The devilish brats roared as they raised their weapons and charged forward. Green Pung precious technique, storm. Endless wind blades whistled as they swept out like a storm. The devilish brats first cultivated the green pung precious technique. At this moment they all used their precious techniques, and wind blades covered the sky. This is a true spirit precious technique? This village actually has a true spirit precious technique? What kind of background do they have? When the 4 royal clans saw this storm, their faces were full of shock, and they began to feel the urge to retreat. However, now that a great battle had begun, they couldn't retreat just because they wanted to. Thousand Feather Sword. A pair of golden wings unfolded behind Little Stone's back, and endless sword lights swept out like a torrential storm. Lightning Spear. Flame Spear. Curse Spear. 3 spears refined from beast horns swept through the army. A sea of dazzling golden lightning, raging lava flames, as well as surging blood-colored lightning engulfed the world. Swan Eni Armor Berserk Charge. The Swan Knee's shadow appeared on the golden armor. Shi Dazhuang raised his Fire Crow Spear, and like an enormous mountain, he charged straight at the cavalry formation in front of him. Flying Flood Dragon, Eat My Spear. The stone monkey unfolded its black bat wings, raised its spiral spear, and aimed at the flying flood dragon's abdomen, an indescribable place, and fiercely stabbed it. Save me! Damn it! Why are they so powerful? The devilish brat army displayed their might, and directly beat the 4 royal clans silly. However, this wasn't the most terrifying thing. Someone is bullying our children. Slaughter them! A furious roar shook the heavens and earth. A pair of enormous beast claws appeared in Shi Linghu's hands, and a huge beast head rushed out from Shi Shoshan's head. The 2 of them took the lead, leading the men, women, and children of Stone Village as they roared and charged forward. Beat them for me! Beat them fiercely! The old chief blew his beard and glared. He took a step forward, raised the mountain-moving whip in his hand, and fiercely lashed out. Hong! A golden wolf exploded into a bloody mist that filled the sky. It was blown apart by the old chief's whip. Green Sky Pung! Beat them fiercely for me! The old chief leaned on the mountain-moving whip, rubbed his old waist, and roared towards the sky. Ping! A green ping broke through the sky. Its body was 100 zhang long, and its feathers seemed to be carved from jade. An endless storm violently erupted between the 2 wings, and the wind blades that filled the sky covered the earth. Green Sky Pung! Pure-blooded true spirit! The 4 royal clans screamed in fear, and were utterly defeated. As expected. Too terrifying! The elder on the white feather wiped the cold sweat from his forehead, and hurriedly retreated a great distance. Yeah. So terrifying! So terrifying! The twin sisters' faces paled. They only felt that this village was simply a dragon's pool and a tiger's den. It was truly too terrifying. Pung! The green sky pung whistled past, and a pair of sharp claws grabbed the flying flood dragon. With a tug, the flying flood dragon was torn into 2. Divine Earth Force, Mount Tai Crush. Xiao Hao extended his wings and swept across the sky, heavily smashing a fist onto the Thunder Clan's flying white bone. Hong! The flying white bone exploded into pieces, scattering everywhere. Hurry and run! The 4 royal clans fled in all directions. The experts of each clan took out their treasured artifacts, protecting several youths as they hurriedly escaped from Stone Village. At this point, the savage Stone Village army directly swept through the 4 royal clans, shocking the desolate land. Chapter 577. We've won! Ha 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 ha! The devilish brats raised their weapons, shouting and jumping. Shameful brat! You only know how to cause trouble! The old chief roared angrily. He was about to attack when he realized that he was holding a mountain-moving whip, instead of the wooden staff he was used to using. He could only stop. Run! With a loud shout, the devilish brats scattered. As a result, The army of devilish brats that had just obtained a great victory instantly collapsed. Stone Village's development can be considered to have begun. Li Yu saw this scene and nodded with a smile. Supreme Palace's courtyard, this name is quite interesting. Raising his eyes to the depths of the desolate land, he saw the 4 pure-blooded true spirits still searching everywhere in the desolate mountain forest. Li Yu nodded. Supreme Palace is still missing a few mountain guardian divine beasts. You guys are perfect. A speck of immortal light lingered on his fingertip. The immortal light was boundless and filled with multicolored light, revealing endless mysteries. Just randomly grab something to trick them. He casually grabbed a mountain rock, and with a brush of the mysterious yellow energy, it turned into a simple and unadorned stone case. With a point of his finger, a speck of immortal light fell into the stone case. The immortal treasure has appeared, you guys go fight for it. With a wave of his hand, the stone case split open the earth and fell below a cliff in the desolate land. Hong Long. With a huge tremor, the mountain collapsed and the earth split open. At the same time, a streak of immortal light rushed up. The multicolored light was boundless, mysterious, and brilliant. The immortal treasure has appeared. The commotion had alerted the 4 pure-blooded true spirit. With a deafening roar, the 4 of them charged towards the place where the immortal treasure had appeared. As a result, a world-shocking battle unfolded. Hong Long. Huge wings spread across the sky. A vicious bird swept across the sky. Its enormous figure was like a black cloud, overflowing with evil energy. It was exceptionally ruthless. This was a heaven-swallowing sparrow. A pair of huge claws reached down from the clouds, grabbing towards the immortal treasure below the cliff. Chirp! The vermilion bird cried, and raging flames overflowed into the heavens. Carrying endless raging flames, the vermilion bird flapped its wings and fiercely swept towards the vicious bird's huge claws, causing endless flames to erupt. Screech! The heaven-swallowing sparrow screeched. It spread its wings and soared into the sky, shaking the heaven and earth. Roar! A huge mutated beast pounced over, its sharp claws tearing through the air. This ferocious beast had the head of a tiger and the body of an ox. It had 2 horns on its forehead, a pair of wings on its back, and sharp fangs and claws. It was extremely ferocious. This was Cheongqi. Boom! A golden-furred giant ape swung a huge black club and smashed it down. The birth of an immortal treasure is no small matter. This matter must be kept a secret. Cheongqi blocked the giant golden ape's cudgel and scanned the surroundings with his emerald eyes. These humans are the most unreliable. We have to kill them all. Ant-like things, just kill them all. The sky-swallowing sparrow's blood-red eyes revealed endless ruthlessness. If it weren't for the fact that I'm busy, I would have swallowed them all in one gulp. Why do you have to do it yourself? Cheongqi raised his head to the sky and roared. His roar was filled with his spiritual will. Beasts of the wilderness, heed my command. Kill all the humans of the great wilderness and flatten this land. Birds of the wilderness, wipe out the human race. The heaven-swallowing sparrow also let out a long cry and also summoned the vicious birds from the mountains. Chirp! Chirp! The vermilion bird let out a long cry and burst into flames, attacking the heaven-swallowing sparrow. Vermilion bird, you are the guardian spirit of the Fire Nation. The humans here have nothing to do with you. Why do you have to stop me? The heaven-swallowing sparrow roared and fought with the vermilion bird. Cheongqi, you dare to be so reckless? The golden-furred giant ape swung his black club and smashed it at Cheongqi. The 4 pure-blooded true spirits fought together, creating chaos in the wilderness. Roar, 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 countless ferocious beasts and ferocious birds filled the sky in the desolate mountains. They were densely packed and rushed out like a tide towards the human encampment outside the desolate mountains. A beast tide? In the depths of the wilderness, Stone Village was the first to feel this movement. Prepare for battle. Everyone in Stone Village went into battle, planning to defend the village against this beast tide. No need to panic. Thousands of willow branches danced in the air, and a green light screen covered the entire Stone Village. These 4 pure-blooded true spirits are causing too much of a commotion. Willow Deity's figure appeared in the light, looking at the 4 pure-blooded true spirits fighting in the wilderness. If I don't teach them a lesson, they will become lawless. Beams of light flashed behind Willow Deity. She raised her hand and was about to attack when she suddenly noticed something. She turned to look in another direction, shook her head, and stopped. Vicious beasts slaughtering humans? Of course I won't allow this to happen. Since Liu wanted to scheme against the 4 pure-blooded true spirits, he naturally wouldn't be unprepared. He patted Dragon Son Basya's back. Basya, settle this matter. Yes. Dragon Son Basya accepted the order and looked at the vicious beasts rushing out like a tide. Its huge head suddenly rose, breaking through the ground and rushing out of the wilderness. Rumble! Mountains collapsed and the earth cracked. The earth quaked and the mountains shook. An incomparably huge dragon head broke through the ground and rushed into the sky. The huge dragon head pierced through the heavens like a pillar supporting the heavens. Roar! A dragon's roar shook the heavens and earth, stirring up the winds and causing all living beings to tremble. The beast tide rushing out of the wilderness mountain range paused for a moment, followed by a wave of horrified howls. They all fled pathetically, returning to the wilderness mountain range. Damn it! That's... The 4 pure-blooded true spirits were shocked to see the dragon head rushing out of the ground. Power of the earth, suppress! The huge dragon head looked down at the 4 pure-blooded true spirits and softly uttered a few words. Words of law. The vast power of the earth pressed down heavily on the 4 pure-blooded true spirits, as if the entire earth was pressing down on them. No matter how powerful the 4 pure-blooded true spirits were, they couldn't resist Dragon Son Basya, who was at the supreme level. If not for the fact that Liu wanted to keep them, Basya would have crushed them already. Absorb! Basya roared, and the power of the earth swept the 4 pure-blooded true spirits into its huge mouth. Rumble! The dragon head returned to the ground and a yellow light swept past. The earth closed and the mountains condensed. Apart from countless collapsed plants, no one could see that a huge beast had appeared. Willow Deity, what was that? Stone Village's people were still dumbfounded. They were inexplicably shocked by the huge dragon head that pierced through the heavens. Only Xiaohao frowned and didn't say a word, as if he was thinking about something. What else could it be? Willow Deity seemed to roll its eyes and pointed at Xiaohao. Why don't you ask him? Isn't this caused by his supreme ancestor? The green light in the sky receded, and Willow Deity's figure returned to the willow tree. Xiaohao, that thing, what was it? Willow Deity didn't answer, so Stone Village's people could only ask Xiaohao. I wasn't sure at first, but since Willow Deity said it was related to Supreme Ancestor, then it must be true. Then there's no mistake. Xiaohao turned his head to look at the crowd and spread his hands with a smile. All right, then it's Supreme Hall. What? Hearing this answer, Stone Village's people opened their mouths wide in shock. Chapter 578. Ancestral Master, Basya did not fail you. Basya retracted his head and spat out a yellow light, sending the 4 pure-blooded true spirits sealed in the yellow light to Liu. Well done. Liu nodded. With a wave of his hand, the 4 pure-blooded true spirits were stored in the resource vault. Peak Human Realm, Venerable Realm. These 4 pure-blooded true spirits can be used to guard Stone Village. Liu smiled at the resource vault. Just as he was about to make a move, he shook his head with a smile. Vermilion Bird, this is the Fire Nation's guardian spirit. Let's return this to Huangtian Emperor's father-in-law. He reached out and took out the Vermilion Bird. Little Vermilion Bird, it's dangerous outside. Go home early. He broke through the void, grabbed the vermilion bird, and sent it flying into the vermilion bird shrine of the Fire Nation's ancestral grounds. Chirp, chirp. The little vermilion bird that had crashed headfirst into the vermilion bird's sacred palace shook its dizzy head and blinked its eyes as if it still hadn't figured out what was going on. Little vermilion bird, it's dangerous outside. Go home early. A mighty voice suddenly sounded in its ear. The vermilion bird shrieked in shock. Its feathers stood on end and flames rose from its body. Even such a terrifying fellow exists. The outside is indeed dangerous. The little vermilion bird shuddered as it recalled the scene of being swallowed by Basha. Thank goodness! Thank goodness! I don't have any meat on my small body. Basha didn't want to eat me. It didn't know that it was Li Yu who had let it out. It thought that Basha had let it live. Chirp, chirp. The little vermilion bird dove into the depths of the temple and hid in its nest, never to come out again. Li Yu naturally didn't know that he had accidentally scared the vermilion bird into a shut-in. The heaven-swallowing sparrow, Qiongqi, and Zhuyan. These three pure-blooded true spirits had different attitudes, so they were treated differently by Li Yu. The heaven-swallowing sparrow and Qiongqi are both vicious and bloodthirsty fellows. This kind of guy can't be raised well. Li Yu waved his hand, and a 5-colored radiance spun, directly erasing the memories of the two. System: reconstruct the memories of the sky-devouring sparrow and Qiongqi as the divine guardian beast and mount of the Supreme Palace. Apart from this, I'll also place a loyalty imprint on them, binding them to Xiaohao and Shihao. These two ferocious beasts should just obediently go guard Stone Village's gate. As for how Xiaohao and little Shirtu were going to divide these two ferocious beasts, that was their own business. Go! Taking out the sky-devouring sparrow and Qiongqi, Li Yu sent them into Xiaohao's supreme palace. This monkey is quite interesting. 3 heads and 6 arms, 72 transformations, lawful embodiment of heaven and earth, and the manifestation of hair. Not only that, he was also proficient in staff technique. This fellow was simply a weaker version of Monkey King. These divine abilities are quite interesting. Li Yu didn't hold back and had the system scan the monkey's divine abilities and precious technique. Although Li Yu had already encountered the 3 heads and 6 arms in the mortal world, Li Yu also had the endless transformations and the 12 awakening transformations. The lawful embodiment of heaven and earth also had the size manipulation, and the manifestation of hair was far inferior to the flowing ink spirit division technique. However, these things were all very interesting. This monkey is the hairy ball by Heaven Emperor Huang's side. Li Yu glanced at the Zhuyan in the resource storage and smiled. Monkey, being able to grow up together with Heaven Emperor Huang is also your opportunity. With a flick of his finger, Li Yu sealed the Zhuyan's memories. Therefore, I'll still preserve this opportunity for you. After sealing the memories, the huge Yuyan turned into a little monkey with golden hair. Go, bring disaster to the world together with this devilish brat. Grabbing the golden-haired monkey, Li Yu tore open the void and threw the little monkey to the side of Stone Village. Stone Village. Xiaohao had just returned to the tool refining pavilion when he heard a rumble in his mind. 2 huge pure-blooded true souls appeared in the sovereign hall. These are divine beasts guarding the mountain? The information from the sovereign hall allowed Xiaohao to understand the identities of the 2 pure-blooded true souls. This left Xiaohao dumbfounded. 4 pure-blooded true souls from the depths of the wilderness were captured by the founder and brought into the sovereign hall. Now, 2 of them have been sent over as divine beasts guarding the mountain? Xiaohao rubbed his head, thinking that the founder's actions were too frightening. Stone Village will be even safer with 2 pure-blooded true souls guarding it. Xiaohao released the 2 beasts with a wave of his hand. Greetings, young master. Venerable realm pure-blooded true souls could take human form long ago, so they could naturally speak human language. After the 2 beasts were released, they immediately knelt before Xiaohao. Your appearances are too frightening. Can you make it smaller and less eye-catching? The two beasts were both hundreds of meters long, and their enormous bodies were frightening. It was very inappropriate for them to appear in Stone Village like this. We are also proficient in the art of transformation. Qiongqi and the sky-devouring sparrow nodded, and their bodies shone with light as they instantly transformed. A small lion with a pair of wings appeared, looking somewhat similar to the biao of the forest. In a mountain village on the edge of the wilderness, it wasn't strange for such a strange creature to appear. The sky-devouring sparrow shrunk its body, and the rows of sharp fangs in its beak were removed. It looked just like a slightly larger sparrow. This appearance is okay. Xiaohao nodded and walked out of the tool refining pavilion with the two new divine beasts. The two beasts entered Stone Village, so they naturally had to greet everyone. Xiaohao, you also caught two small animals? Little Stone held a golden-haired monkey by the neck and raised it in his hand as he greeted Xiaohao. Squeak squeak. The golden-haired monkey squealed and bared its teeth at Little Stone. Hairy Ball, stop squeaking. Here's a candy for you. Little Stone took out a candy and stuffed it into the golden-haired monkey's mouth. The golden-haired monkey held the candy and ate it with relish, allowing Little Stone to pinch its neck. Thus, a pure-blooded true spirit of the venerable realm, a peerless powerhouse that ran rampant in the wilderness, was bought over by a candy. When Zhuyan regained its memories, it would probably cry, right? Buzz! A green light bloomed from the green willow tree, and the willow deity's figure appeared in front of the two little fellows. Grand Empyrean, is this your plan? The willow deity glanced at the three beasts and shook its head with a smile. Qiongqi, sky-devouring sparrow, Zhuyan, this can be considered your fortune. We have been taught by the Empyrean. From now on, we will protect the young master and guard the mountain gate. In the future, we will also be able to achieve great result. This is indeed our good fortune. Qiongqi, who looked like a small lion, nodded at the willow deity and replied, Yes, we will also become gods and immortals one day. The sky-devouring sparrow continued from the side. It's good that you can think this way. The willow deity waved its hand and turned to leave. It was too lazy to care about this trivial matter. Thus, the three pure-blooded true spirits settled down in Stone Village. Chapter 579. The three pure-blooded true spirits joining Stone Village didn't cause much of a stir. The danger of the great wilderness destruction disappeared, and Stone Village regained its peace. Everything was normal, as if nothing had changed. Willow deity, I had a dream again last night. Little Shirtu sat under the green willow tree with a bitter face. He rubbed his forehead, and his young face seemed to carry an indescribable sadness. Willow deity, I had a dream last night. I dreamt of many people and some things. Those seemed to be things that happened to me. But I don't remember anything. Little Shirtu shook his head and looked helplessly at Willow deity. Sigh, with a faint sigh, Willow deity's figure appeared in the green clouds. That wasn't a dream, it was your own experience. Only, you were too young at the time, so you didn't leave behind any memories. With a gentle wave of her hand, a willow branch fell in front of Little Shirtu. Willow deity lowered her head and looked at Little Shirtu. I can help you see everything. But that will only bring you pain. From now on, a carefree life will leave you. In the future, there will only be endless battles and killing. Are you ready? Is that so? Little Shirtu stood up and turned his head to look at the peaceful Stone Village. A smile appeared on his face. Although I'm still young, I also know a principle. There is no place in this world that is truly peaceful. Turning around, Little Shirtu raised his head and looked at Willow deity. His eyes were full of determination. Xiaohao told me before that men can't shrink back. Even if I'm still a little boy, I won't shrink back. Then, as you wish. The green willow branch gently brushed against little Shitta's forehead, and a green light flashed. Gotcha! As if a door that had been sealed for a long time was opened, countless scenes appeared in little Shitta's mind. Grandpa 15 is mighty. A majestic old man stepped onto the 100-tribe battlefield in high spirits with a huge bow in his hand. Little brother, if you're a natural-born supreme being, then what am I? A little boy with double pupils, known as the natural-born saint, expressionlessly stared at an infant's chest. Double pupils and supreme being bone combined into one. My son is the natural-born supreme being. My son is invincible. A woman with a ferocious look on her face swung her blade. The ice-cold blade sliced open the baby's chest and took out a sparkling white bone that shone with divine light. Pain. It was a heart-wrenching pain. His entire body felt as if he had fallen into an ice cave, and he was trembling from the cold. Vicious woman. How could she be so vicious? Sure Xiling angrily pulled out his sword and caused havoc in the martial imperial manner. After being suppressed by the clansmen, Sure Xiling and his wife took the dying little guy and exiled him to the second ancestral land. I am unable to repay Grandpa 15's great kindness. An old man carrying a child arrived in front of Sure Xiling's family. My family's grandson is about the same age as the young master. Let him be the substitute and fight for a chance of survival for the young master. My son's life is hanging by a thread. My wife and I have to go to the forbidden land of the Divine Mountain to find the saint medicine to save his life. Old patriarch, please take care of this child for us. In Stone Village, a couple handed over a dying infant to the old chief. Father, Mother, Grandpa, and Xiaohao. 2 streams of hot tears rolled down his cheeks. The little Shirtu took a deep breath and stubbornly raised his head. His back was perfectly straight, as if there was nothing in this world that could baffle him. The pure and carefree devilish child finally came in contact with the cruelest truth of this world. Although there are many people who don't treat me well, but, the little Shirtu wiped his tears and raised his head. Looking at Stone Village, a smile appeared on his face again. But there are even more people who care about me and want to help me. It's good that you understand. The willow deity nodded. With your current cultivation, you have already surpassed the limits of the blood transformation realm. It's time for you to go out and gain experience. Like Xiaohao, to gain experience in the great wastelands and travel 300,000 li alone? The little Shirtu clenched his fist. If Xiaohao can do it, then I can obviously do it too. Of course you have to go and gain experience in the great wastelands. However, right now I want you to go to another place. With a wave of the willow branch, green light filled the sky. The willow deity's voice contained a bit of mystery. This is a mysterious place. Here you can meet countless geniuses from all over the world. There are pure-blooded true spirit children, the heirs of ancient countries, and the geniuses of various large families and sections. You can even meet people with dual pupils. People with dual pupils. The little Shirtu slightly frowned and then indifferently smiled. I just want to see how powerful that brother of mine is after he stole my supreme being bone. Are you ready? Then sit down under the tree. I'll send you in. The willow deity gestured for the little Shirtu to sit down. With a wave of its hand, the countless branches emitted an endless radiance. A mighty power endlessly circulated between the branches. Hey, willow deity, can you also bring Xiaohao over? The little Shirtu was meditating under the willow tree. He suddenly opened his eyes and asked the willow deity. If he wants to go in, I don't need to do anything. With a wave of the willow branch, rays of green light rushed into the sky. Calm your heart and enter meditation. I'm going to send you in. Boom! The green willow branch suddenly rushed up and emitted a bright radiance. It was like a swimming dragon that rushed into the sky. Boom! A rumble sounded in the sky. The green light exploded and the heaven and earth were covered in green. The willow branch was like a dragon. It was as if it pierced through the void and opened a mysterious door. Inside the door, the clouds were dense and the light was blurry. It was mysterious and deep. "Go!" the willow deity lightly shouted. The green light that filled the sky rippled. The little Shirtu only felt his soul tremble. His entire body involuntarily flew into the sky. He passed through the mysterious door and arrived at a vast and boundless mysterious world. Clouds curled up and the heaven and earth were in chaos. The world in front of him seemed to be shrouded in a dense fog. His surroundings were boundless. Where is this? The little Shirtu was confused. The scene in front of him was different from what the willow deity described. This is the void god realm. This is only a corner. The real void god realm is vast and boundless. Come with me. A voice rang out from behind him. Little Shirtu turned his head to look and saw a huge green willow tree in the midst of the dense fog. It emitted an endless amount of light, illuminating the dense fog. The fog dispersed. A vast and broken world appeared in front of the little Shirtu. This place, the earth was shattered and the mountains collapsed. Countless buildings and palaces had been reduced to rubble and broken tiles. This is the divine battlefield. The willow deity explained to the little Shirtu. During the chaos of the ancient times, the deities fought and destroyed this place. So fierce. The little Shirtu sucked in a breath of cold air. Such a vast world was destroyed. This is not the real world. This place is formed by the will of countless deities. It is formed by the will of all living beings. This is a spiritual world. You are now in your soul state. Only your soul has entered this place. Your body is still in Stone Village. A willow branch broke through the fog and revealed a golden door in the void. Go. That is the void god realm where heroes fight for supremacy. Go and see the world outside. Heroes fighting for supremacy? Heroes, I'm coming! The little Shirtu raised his head and shouted. He rushed into the golden door. Chapter 580. Little Stone has already entered the void god realm? Sensing willow deity's mental fluctuations, Liu knew that this was a sign of opening the void god realm. Since that's the case, Xiaohao can also go there and take a look. The void god realm was a mental world. In this world, after one's soul entered, all their senses were completely real. It was simply a holographic game world. A virtual world constructed by the mind also reflects the rules of this world. Therefore, in this game-like world, I have to open up an administrator's authority. The power of his soul rushed out. Liu released his soul and sensed the existence of the void god realm. After locking onto the location, Liu's mind moved and opened a door for Xiaohao's Supreme Palace. It's already connected to the void god realm through the Supreme Palace. Young man, go in and play games. Stone Village. Xiaohao was dealing with the spoils of war in the weapon refining pavilion. After defeating the attack of the 4 noble clans, Stone Village obtained a lot of spoils of war. Although many of them were ordinary items, there weren't many talisman treasures. However, these things still had some value. 1. Just as Xiaohao was refining these broken weapons, the Supreme Hall in his mind shuddered, and a brilliant light burst out. The Supreme Palace has changed again? Xiaohao's mind moved and his soul entered the Supreme Palace in his mind. A door appeared? On the side of the Supreme Palace, outside the martial arts hall that hadn't been opened yet, a simple stone door stood tall and emitted a brilliant light. Door of Trial? Leads to the void god realm? Arriving in front of the stone door, Xiaohao saw a series of information appear on the stone door. A mental world? Gathering the heroes of the world and fighting for supremacy? This is quite interesting. Xiaohao smiled and nodded as he stepped through the stone door. As the golden light flashed, the world changed. When the light faded, he was already in another world. He was standing on a huge bluestone platform. The platform was very wide and there were countless runes engraved on it. Pieces of sparkling and translucent treasured bones were embedded on the bluestone platform, forming a rune passage. A child wants to dig a rune passage. It can't be? He even wants to dig a rune passage? Is he not afraid of being punished? Who knows? That little guy has been squatting on the ground for half a day. Xiao Hao had just taken a step when he suddenly heard a burst of discussion from all around, which made Xiao Hao feel a burst of surprise. There are people digging runic passages? Who is this weirdo? Little Stone? Following the direction that everyone was pointing at, Xiao Hao discovered that little Shirtu was squatting on the ground. He was looking at the inlaid rune bone on the bluestone platform with great interest, as if he really wanted to dig it out. What are you doing? Walking to little Shida's side, Xiao Hao crossed his arms and looked at little Shirtu with a smile. I'm trying to figure out how to dig this thing out, little Shirtu answered casually. Suddenly, his expression froze and he hurriedly raised his head. Xiao Hao? You're here too. Yeah, I'm here too. Xiao Hao lowered his head and looked at the runic precious bone on the ground. He shook his head and said, This should be the precious bone of a void beast. It has the power to travel through the void. But what do you want it for? Haha. I wasn't going to take it. However, they said that I can't dig out these precious bones, so I want to try. Little Shirtu smiled. Since others can't dig it out, I want to try. Haha. Is he really going to dig a runic passage? Kid, stop dreaming. The runic passage's precious bones in the void god realm are not real objects. They are formed by the rules. Unless you have the ability to break the starting ground's limit, you can forget about digging out these precious bones. Let him dig. I haven't seen such an interesting thing in a long time. Let me have some fun. The people surrounding the bluestone platform were discussing, laughing, and waiting to see a joke. Don't waste your time here. Xiao Hao shook his head and pointed at the sky. That's what we should be paying attention to. In the sky, many dazzling monuments stood tall and floated in the sky. Amidst the brilliant radiance, the shining words recorded the heroic deeds one after another, and the names of the people who were engraved on them were resplendent. What's that? Little Shirtu looked in the direction that Xiao Hao was pointing at. He unexpectedly saw a name that made his heart ache. Dual pupil, slaying 9 kings in one battle. Dual pupil, reaching the peak in one battle. Among these dazzling monuments, the title, dual-pupiled individual, deeply stung little Shida's eyes. Slaying 9 kings? Reaching the peak? If he can do it, then I can do it too. Little Shirtu no longer had the mind to pay attention to the runic passage. He clenched his fists tightly and stared at the name in the sky as he let out a heaven-shaking roar. Chi. 2 brats who don't know the immensity of heaven and earth. Among the spectators, someone shook his head and sneered. He deeply despised Xiao Hao and little Shirtu for not knowing the immensity of heaven and earth. The two of them are just children. It's understandable for them to be a bit arrogant at such a young age. Another person smiled and replied. He seemed to be helping little Shirtu explain, but in reality, there was an even deeper mockery. Do you know what that is? It's a monument. Only by breaking the record and breaking the limit of this stage will you have the qualifications to write your name on the monument and announce it to the world. Someone couldn't stand it anymore and directly explained it to the two children. Breaking the limit and breaking the shackles, unless you are a heavenly genius, normal people don't even need to think about it. This is the starting ground. All power is limited to the blood movement realm. If you can break the limit of the blood movement realm and break the record of your predecessors, then you will have the chance to write your name on the monument and announce it to the world. An old man took over the conversation. There wasn't much mockery in his words, but he couldn't stand the two children who didn't know the immensity of heaven and earth, so he began to lecture them. The limit of the blood movement realm? Little Shirtu and Xiao Hao looked at each other and smiled. With their current physical strength, they had already surpassed the limit of the blood movement realm by several times. So, the matter of writing their name on the monument wasn't that difficult? You do it. Xiao Hao gestured to Little Shirtu. Let them broaden their horizons. Use the monument to announce our arrival to the heroes of the Void God realm. Good. Watch me. Little Shirtu raised his arms high and roared towards the sky. However, his young face, white and tender hands, and his age of around 5 years old, made his appearance inexplicably make people laugh. Ha 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 ha. The surrounding people who were watching the show were already overjoyed. They only felt that this child was really funny. Brat, you should first dig out the precious bones of the rune passage. Someone suggested with a laugh. Dig out precious bones? A trace of ridicule flashed through Little Shitta's eyes. Then I'll dig out a precious bone. Retreating a few steps, Little Shirtu stepped on the ground and his figure whistled through the air. He raised his palm and fiercely slapped down on a precious bone of the rune passage. Boom! A palm strike shook the heavens and the earth. Chapter 581. Boom! A huge force fiercely slammed on the bluestone platform, creating a loud noise. A force of 300,000 jin, exceeding the limit of 100,000 jin for the blood movement realm in the starting ground. Under the attack, the bluestone platform exploded. A rune precious bone flew up, and Little Stone grabbed it in his hand. Is it that hard to dig out a precious bone? Isn't this a precious bone? Little Stone grabbed the precious bone, held his head high, and looked around disdainfully. How is this possible? You can actually dig out a rune precious bone? There is such a thing. The surrounding crowd was dumbstruck. Clang! The sound of heaven was vast and mighty, and the immortal light was like rain. A huge crystal tablet rose from the ground and floated in the air. Shattering the rune passage of the starting ground, reward, 1 precious bone. The crystal tablet shone brightly, and immortal clouds lingered. A line of words was engraved on the crystal tablet. The words flickered, overflowing with light. This is also possible? Destroying the teleportation passage is also a record? Everyone was dumbstruck and looked at each other. There is still a message? Little Stone looked at the floating crystal tablet and found that there was a place to leave a message. I am about to write my name on the tablet. Thinking of Shur-E with double pupils, he might also appear in the Void God realm. Little Stone's mind moved, and he left a sentence on the crystal tablet. I am coming, are you afraid? I still need to leave my name. I am still very weak now, and there are many potential enemies. I don't want to expose my real name. Looking at Xiao Hao, Little Stone laughed. Since you are called Xiao Hao, then I will be called Tai Hao. He reached out and engraved the name Tai Hao. The huge crystal tablet rushed up, towering high in the sky. Congratulations to cultivator Tai Hao for shattering the rune passage of the starting ground, creating a new record. At this moment the world was shocked. The huge crystal tablet hung high in the sky, and every place in the Void God realm could see this crystal tablet. The crystal tablet shone brilliantly, illuminating the world. The mighty heavenly sound spread throughout the world, shaking the world. This is also possible? Destroying the teleportation passage is also a record? Seeing this news, countless people beat their chests and stamped their feet in regret. If destroying the rune passage of the starting ground can break a record, then what about the other places? Some of the more quick-witted people immediately had the thought of imitating him. Boom! As the lightning struck, a burly man who was smashing the runic passage with a sledgehammer was blasted into pieces by a bolt of lightning. Crack! A bolt of lightning flashed, and a group of cultivators who were smashing the gate of the starting ground were burned to ashes by the lightning. Misled by Little Stone, countless cultivators who were causing trouble in the faux god world were blasted into smithereens by the power of the rules of the faux god world. Fortunately, the faux god world was not the real world. Dying once would only damage one's soul. One would recover after resting for a year or so. On the first day that the devilish brat entered the void god realm, he already stirred up a lot of trouble. Bastard! The cultivators who had been greatly harmed by Little Stone gritted their teeth and cursed angrily. There's nothing interesting here. Let's go. When Xiaohao saw Little Shida's antics, he shook his head with a smile and pulled Little Shirtu out. The title of the monument this time wasn't Breaking the Runic Passage. The main point was that Little Shida's strength had broken through the limits of the blood movement realm. Thus, even if the rules of the faux god world didn't allow the destruction of the passage, there was still a reward for breaking the limit. This allowed Little Shirtu to destroy the runic passage and obtain the opportunity to write his name on the monument. Those who wanted to imitate Little Shirtu didn't have the strength to break through the limit and couldn't obtain the reward. What awaited them was only punishment. Don't be in such a hurry. Don't be in such a hurry. Little Shirtu pulled Xiaohao back. I played once, so you should also play once. There's no need for that, right? Xiaohao looked like a 5-year-old child, but his soul had reincarnated 100 times and experienced tens of thousands of years. He already had no interest in this kind of playful thing. It's more fun if we each play once. Didn't you say that we would use the monument to announce our arrival? Let's start from here. Little Shirtu didn't let go of Xiaohao. Xiaohao couldn't change his mind and could only agree. Alright, I'll also dig out a precious bone. Although, this kind of archaic descendant's precious bone is really useless. Xiaohao shook his head and turned his head to look at the ground. He randomly found a target and waved his hand to slap it. Boom! Another shocking explosion sounded. Stone fragments swirled in the air as the precious bone bounced up. This attack, Xiaohao's strength was a little bit more than Little Shidu's, just enough to break the record. Dong, the sound of the heavens was vast and mighty, and multicolored light filled the sky. A huge crystal monument rose from the ground, brilliant and dazzling. Congratulations to cultivator Xiaohao for breaking the starting ground's runic passage and creating a new record. The monument was written and announced to the world. At this moment, countless people in the void god realm were so shocked that their jaws dropped. Another one? Taihao, Xiaohao, are they two brothers? Could it be that only by breaking the starting ground's runic passage can the record be broken? In the void god realm, countless people flocked towards the starting ground. I hope you guys won't be tricked too miserably. Xiaohao smiled and shook his head. He pulled Little Shirtu and walked outside. I just saw a record of the dual-pupiled person leaping to the top. Let's go and try. Okay. Little Shirtu wanted to compete with the dual-pupiled person, so he naturally agreed. The two walked out of the bluestone platform and walked towards the place where the dual-pupiled person broke the record. Beside the bluestone platform, there was only a group of people who were still in a daze. This is impossible, right? Near the bluestone platform, the people who were watching the excitement were completely stupefied. They couldn't believe what was happening in front of them. Breaking the record is so easy? Two children, each breaking the runic passage once, actually broke the record? How could this be? Let me try too. The monument was written and announced to the world, and it would be passed down for eternity. Naturally, no one would let go of this opportunity. Thus, on the starting ground's runic platform, a large group of cultivators rubbed their fists and waved their weapons. They fiercely smashed the bluestone platform with ping 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 sounds. Boom! Thunder rumbled and lightning flashed. A series of miserable cries sounded. On the entire bluestone platform, countless cultivators were punished by the void god realm. They died under the lightning tribulation and were annihilated. You asked for it yourselves. You can't blame me. Hearing the sound of thunder behind him and the miserable cries, the corner of Xiao Hao's mouth twitched. He moved forward a bit faster. Xiao Hao and Tai Hao, they want to break the dual-pupiled person's record? With 2 consecutive monument titles, the 2 little fellows were already famous in the Void God realm. Seeing the direction they were heading and hearing their conversation, the Void God realm was once again in an uproar. Someone dares to challenge the dual-pupiled person's record? These 2 little fellows use tricks to obtain the monument title, yet they don't know the immensity of heaven and earth. The more the news spread, the more people followed behind the 2 little fellows. Although the 2 little fellows are not ordinary, it's impossible for them to break the dual-pupiled person's record. Just wait and see the joke. This opportunistic person will definitely suffer a crushing defeat this time and become a laughingstock. In front of a tall mountain in the starting ground, there was already a sea of people. Countless people were paying attention to Xiao Hao and Tai Hao. Although no one thought they could break the dual-pupiled person's record, these 2 little fellows were also extraordinary and were worth paying attention to. Tai Hao and Xiao Hao's names shook the world. Chapter 582. We're here. This is the place where the man with dual pupils reached the peak. In front of him was a towering cliff. The mountain was majestic and the cliff was like a wall. A waterfall fell from the top of the mountain, as if the Milky Way was hanging upside down. The mist was dense and the clouds were rosy. Under the sunlight, it flashed with colorful rainbows. This is the place? Little Stone's eyes were filled with a complicated expression. The man with dual pupils, his cousin who stole his supreme being bone, was now very famous and had made a name for himself. If he didn't have his supreme being bone dug out, he probably wouldn't be any worse than him, right? Xiao Hao, I want to try. Little Stone looked at the mountain in front of him and clenched his fists tightly. Go ahead and do it. How can a trifling man with dual pupils stop us from moving forward? Xiao Hao smiled indifferently and nodded at Little Stone. Shameless boasting. At this time, an old man sneered and said, The man with dual pupils is a natural-born saint. How can a mountain brat like you compare to him? Xiao Hao and Tai Hao, these 2 brats who appeared out of nowhere, shocked the entire Void God realm. Countless people were trying to find out about their origins. They quickly discovered that these 2 people didn't exist in any of the sacred mountains, ancient countries, or great sections. In this way, their identities were very clear. These were 2 mountain boys who came out of nowhere. How difficult is it to reach the peak in one step? Another person continued, One can only rely on the strength of their body and cannot use any talisman technique. Back then, the man with dual pupils used his physical strength to reach the peak in one step. This is an unprecedented miracle. That's right. After the man with dual pupils set a new record, there were also pure-blooded true spirits who came to challenge him, but they all failed. Even pure-blooded true spirits couldn't break the record of the man with dual pupils, and you dare to dream? Whether it's wishful thinking or not, you'll know when you see it. Hearing these taunts and mockery, Little Stone felt indignant. He snorted heavily and said, Open your eyes and watch. Rise. With an angry roar, Little Stone stomped on the ground, creating a loud rumbling sound. The ground collapsed and the mountain rocks shattered. Little Shirtu stomped heavily on the ground and leaped into the air. The rising figure broke through the clouds and soared into the sky. In front of countless people's faces filled with shock and astonishment, this young figure suddenly ascended to the heavens with a single step and stepped onto the peak of the mountain. Clang! The heavenly music was vast and mighty, and the multicolored light was boundless. The dazzling monument soared into the air and hung high in the sky. Congratulations to cultivator Tai Hao for reaching the peak in one step and breaking the record of the dual-pupiled man. The mighty voice resounded throughout the world. At this moment, the entire void god realm was deathly silent. Countless people stared at the monument in the sky with their mouths agape. They found it hard to believe. How is this possible? He broke all the records for the people with dual pupils? That's amazing! This is too shocking. After a while, the entire void god world was in an uproar. Cries of shock and disbelief rose like a tide of anger. He actually broke the record of the person with dual pupils? In front of the mountain of the starting ground, all the onlookers were horrified and trembling all over. Miracle! This is truly a miracle. The record of the person with dual pupils was known as the world's strongest and unbreakable record. It was actually so easily broken by a 5-year-old child? Did you see that? Is it that hard to climb the mountain? Little Shitta's figure jumped down from the peak of the mountain and raised his arms high. He was incomparably mighty. Taihao, are you willing to join my Butian pavilion? An old man stood in the air with his hands behind his back and smiled as he spoke to little Shirtu. Join my Zhulu Academy. A woman wearing golden armor stood in the air like a god of war as she spoke to little Shirtu. Young man, my Cyanwood ancient kingdom needs a talent like you to join. Bastard, this is my stone country's territory. How can I allow your Cyanwood country to steal people from here? How can there be a border in the void god realm? Taihao, come to our fire country. After breaking the record of the person with dual pupils, little Shirtu had already proven his exceptional talent. His body's strength was unparalleled in the world. This kind of talent had already gained the favor of many big powers. Xiaohao, it's your turn. Little Shirtu did not pay attention to these people's so-called recruitment and turned around to speak to Xiaohao. Stone Village even had several pure-blooded true spirit treasure techniques. There were also the worldly immortal martial techniques, as well as the supreme palaces, true primordial record and 6 Tao reincarnation heavenly technique. Which sect or sacred ground would pass down so many secret techniques? I don't need it, right? Xiaohao did not have any thoughts of being in the limelight. Xiaohao, who had experienced 100 reincarnations, had already become indifferent to these empty titles. Us two brothers will travel the world together. I broke the record, so you naturally have to break it once too. Little Shirtu did not plan on letting Xiaohao go. Since he wanted to cause trouble, then he would cause a big commotion and let their jaws drop from shock. Okay. Spreading the name of the Supreme Palace and shaking the world, this kind of reputation matter could not be ignored. Thinking about this, Xiaohao nodded his head. Haha, good. Little Shirtu laughed loudly as he turned around and shouted at the surrounding people, Open your eyes wide and watch my brother break the record again. He wants to do it again? Yes. Previously, when they broke the runic passage, it was the two brothers who took turns to break it. I'm afraid it will be the same this time. Is he going to break the record again? This is a rare grand occasion. With little Shirtu as an example, everyone was even more expectant of Xiaohao breaking the record. Then I'll give it a try. Xiaohao smiled and nodded his head. He heavily stomped his foot, and with a loud bang, his body soared into the air like a great rock spreading its wings. The young figure soared into the sky and climbed to the peak of the mountain once again. Compared to the time with little Shirtu, Xiaohao soared a little higher and just happened to break the record again. Clang, another monument soared into the sky. Congratulations to the cultivator Xiaohao for reaching the peak in one step, breaking the record and setting a new high. The sound of the heavens was vast and mighty, announcing to the world. Then everyone in the void god realm was dumbfounded. These two brothers are going to defy the heavens. Taihao Xiaohao, peerless geniuses. Both of them breaking the record, a grand occasion for all eternity. These two brothers are only around 5 years old. Their futures are limitless. The person with dual pupils has met a challenge. Yes. When these two brothers grow up, they definitely won't be any worse than the person with dual pupils. Seeing the monument hanging high in the sky and hearing the announcement, the Void God realm was in an uproar. Damn it! Where did this evil creature come from? He actually broke Little Yi's record? This is really preposterous. In the Rain Clan's encampment in the Void God realm, an old man fiercely smashed the table in front of him, unable to restrain his anger. Taihao? Xiaohao? These two names remind me of a certain damned brat. It makes me very uncomfortable. The old man turned his head and looked at the other clan members below. His face was malevolent and twisted. These two mountain kids actually dare to compete with Little E? They really don't know the difference between life and death. These two brats must have eaten some heavenly treasure to make their physical strength incomparably tyrannical. However, for a cultivator, treasured arts and divine abilities were the strongest power. No matter how strong their bodies are, without treasured techniques, they are only ants in the end. Little E will definitely be the supreme expert of this age. If you want to challenge Little Yi's position, you have to be alive first. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.